On his part, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, reassured citizens of their safety during and after the elections, even in the trouble zones in the country.
I would like to use this opportunity to assure Nigerians that on the security front, we are good to go. I do not need to tell you how we will do it. Now, I'm telling you that we will do it, and everyone will have the liberty to exercise their franchise. This is part of the assessment we've done, and we made contingencies to address those particular areas.
General Rabo warned all thugs and perpetrators of evils to be seized or face consequences of their actions. As part of its contribution to the security of the electoral process, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) deployed over 100,000 personnel and sniffer dogs for election duty nationwide. The Commandant General of the NSCDC, Dr. Ahmed Abubakar Aoud, as a critical stakeholders in election security would ensure that personnel were properly guided before being deployed for physical security provision at the polling units during and after the election across the Federation. The Federal Safety Corps (FRSC) is mobilizing and deploying over 30,000 personnel for effective traffic management and vehicular movement during the election across the nation. The Department of State Services (DSS) has equally deployed an unspecified numbers of personnel across the Federation to ensure a history election and urge citizens participating in the electoral process to abide by the laid down procedures for peaceful polls.
Shun violence and of course all divisive tendencies and anything that will affect negatively the elections. The Bees have always been our position and preach. I will get tired saying that don't think there are no values of talking peace for us in the DSS. We want every person to be peaceful and not fighting.
On its part, the Police Service Commission deployed over 360 officers of the Commission across the 36 states of the Federation to monitor the conduct of police personnel on election duties. The acting chairman of the Commission, retired Justice of Supreme Court, General Abundi, warned that the Commission would sanction any errant police officer engaged in any form of misconduct before, during, and after the election. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) and the Independent Drug Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) anti-graft agencies of the federal government equally deployed operatives across the 774 local government areas of the Federation to monitor vote buying. Election security experts were of the consensus that as a general elections to elect a new leadership to run the affairs of the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) should do everything possible to get the exercise right better than previous elections for the sake of the nation's democratic advancement as well as economic development of the country. In Abuja, Emmanuel AG Radio.
Much efforts of stakeholders to ensure security of lives and property before, during, and after the elections. And now, there are reported cases of attacks on high officials, voters, and voting materials in some polling stations, for instance, not the weekly in the nation, we have the other local states. And of course, the Beavers machine was also struggling, you understand, in Delta and other states, 6 of them. Eventually, I was able to retrieve 3 of them. 3 are still missing. How would you assess the level of security arrangements in this election?
For me, speaking as an expert in that context, I believe I will have to commend all the security forces that participated in ensuring that we have H3 elections, that their performances were really commendable due to the fact that there was a highly strategic and robust intelligence-driven operations, which has really reduced the propensity of the outbreak of violence and also intervention of miscreants in trying to disrupt the election, courtesy of perhaps the support of the various parties moved by the emotional desperations and the fact that some of them have no clear signal of where and how do we navigate this country into the promised land. And of course, the arrangement from the side of police, the DSS, the EFCC, custom, immigration, the 17 sister institutions really did the best. And in history, this is the first time there is a robust, well-coordinated operations and intervention, which has really sent a signal of strategic deterrence to troublemakers who have this tendency of disrupting the election. Because violence and electoral a kind of rigging and other things were really significantly reduced by the deliberate policies shaped by the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, like the financial policy intervention, which preempted cash from flowing the way it should. Or normally, Nigerians are used to the culture of money politics. Vote buying has been significantly reduced, in spite of the hues and crises here and there by citizens of their inability to have access to cash. The politicians too felt excruciating impact of the policy by not having access to the required financial logistics needed to change the mindset of the citizens from voting what they should or what they ought to do to voting what money has conditioned their psyche to do. And at the end of the day, we collectively suffer for it. And I think that effort or that strategic planning by security agencies, their intervention and operations, highly commendable. I have spoken to friends, I've seen, write-ups across the world of commendation with the way and manner in which the security forces conducted themselves. This is the first time I have seen excellent professional intervention. Like in Lagos, Kano, and other places, you see the way the police behaved as if they were angels coming from heaven. For the first time, police and military became too civil by, creating the rapport. Take the case of Bayelsa, Lagos, and Kano, where the security agencies and the people and the voters, in some cases of observable incidences of violence and attempted rigging and snatching of ballot boxes and the beaver snatching, they had to come together, discuss instead of putting the language people usually understand, the language of bullets and bullets. It didn't happen. There were verbal engagements, there were deliberations, negotiations in the milieu of ADR sort of arrangements, which has credibly increased their professional competence in terms of their civil engagement. And of course, the citizens really love it in Bayelsa. A protest later turned into jubilation and support for the security forces, and that synergy and rapprochement became something new to the people, and people began to realize that security are our friends. They are not enemies of this country. They are not our enemies. When they discussed protest started, the commissioner of police came, the commandant of the military, whatever came, civil defense, everybody was there. And these people decided, let us engage these young people protesting. And what was the problem? Insufficient ballot papers, and of course, the missing logo and other things. Now, also the fear. People need to have that emotional stability while joining the queues to form opinion, because voting, there's a difference between campaign behavior and voting behavior. Campaign behavior is the behavior of the crowd you see politicians pulling before election. Voting behavior sometimes are even formed, either from the residences of people or even while they are at the polling unit. They decide to feel, having studied the way this campaign went through, which of the candidates will perhaps deliver the expectations of Nigerians. I will form an opinion, or the person forms an opinion to vote for that candidate, and then you meet, if the political education given by the parties are not sufficient. While in the line you meet friends and peers, and people now engage in certain strategic discussions which later affect the way people think and the way they will finally vote at the end of the day. And of course, we need to really, and I want to say, for the first time I have seen in my lifetime, that security people are having a robust, coordinated, and synergetic intervention operations and civil-minded approach to security and election.
All right, Dr. Kusa, the peaceful atmosphere that characterized the entire exercise in the Southeast, particularly in Imo, Anambra, and Enugu, was shocking to most Nigerians. Would you say to that?
It boils down to effective logistics, synergistic rapprochement amongst the security forces. And if you had 310,000 policemen in Ghana, the training of a police officer is very different from the training of a military, of a soldier. The last is trained to shoot and kill. The other is trained in civil duties and so forth. So the synergy between these two during the election was really commendable. We didn't hear of any soldier shooting at any voter. Then there was a case of a lady who was attacked, wounded, probably in the eye area, went home, got first aid, had the audacity to come back to vote. It means there was some protection in that place.
Absolutely.
Yes. So they call for reinforcement, and the lady was bold enough to come back. Usually before, people would go away and never come back. So we see some emerging trends now, the determination. Because they believe that their votes will count. Before, politicians never needed to buy votes because the votes were not important. They would just go to a room and write the results. But now that they know that the votes are important, they want to buy. It was advancement. This election has triple advancement in the sense that you don't even have the money to buy. Even if you wanted to buy. I was angry I didn't have money in my pocket, but I was happy that the politicians did not have money to go buy. So the winning buyers and the sellers could not, there was a lady, for example, I don't remember which state, she was caught with 18 voters cards. Kaduna State, she was caught with 18 voters, and a list of persons to whom she would transfer money. She was nabbed. She was being seen like a enemy now because the collaborators would have been mentioned. So the fact that cash was not readily available, even when the 200 was brought back, if you're going to have millions in 200, you will need buildings. Ghana must go to put them. So it will expose them. So it was a beautiful thing. I didn't like the fact that cashless by force by fire. Cashless by force by fire. I didn't like it. Most of us did not like it. But I'm smiling now because I'm seeing the effect on the electoral process. It's beautiful in my eyes. It's beautiful in my eyes. I love it. It's nice. Then the fact that paramilitary agencies like the NSCDC, ICPC, EFCC, and so on, immigration, they were on ground at my estate and immigration district. They were on ground at my estate yesterday. I voted peacefully before 10 o'clock. I was back in my house by 9:30. So the collaboration was good, the atmosphere was convivial. You did not, normally when you have the military in any place, they will be loud. And they want to be noticed. No, they just stay quietly in a corner.
So we're getting there.
Yes, yeah. We are getting there. So people are no longer really afraid to go and vote. But we know that in Lagos, a particular political party said that you could not vote here if you're not voting so. That was not good enough. I don't know what happened here. There was an absence or security personnel, probably, because it couldn't have happened.
No, the security agencies were there.
They were there, so why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened. But you see, we are making progress. That is the important thing for
Okay.
security agencies.
I mean, through that vote buying or trading, vote trading, I think, so that's, the parties buying and selling, vote trading was, reduced to the barest minimum during yesterday's, election. So moving forward now, at the start, okay, at the start of the program, we did tell, our listeners that, our correspondents, will stand by to give us situation reports from different polling units across the nation. Now, I think it's time for us to go to the field to get first-hand information from our correspondents from across the country. Hello? Hello? Okay, we go back to that later on. Thirdly, and ballot, still talking about security arrangements. Thirdly, and the ballot box snatching, was reported in some areas, and there's a new level to that one now. That is the biggest version, snatching or theft, so to speak. This was the concern of some residents of Lafia in Nasarawa State, as reported by. Okay, I think I have the correspondent Alambo Dantoy. Good morning, Alambo. Alambo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. So give us an update on of situation where you are reporting from.
Okay, reporting from Bayelsa.
Okay.
Bayelsa is very calm this morning with the elections yesterday, but there will still be election this morning from 10 a.m. In about 104 polling units, 4 wards in Yenagua local government area of Bayelsa State. Some minutes ago, I went around town trying to see what preparation is like. I noticed the polling booths have not been set up, but I saw some security personnel walking to some of the polling units. So we are still waiting. We are waiting any moment from 10 that elections will be held in about 204 units in 4 wards of APA 1, APA 3, Bahrain 2, and Okodia. All these are located in Yenagua local government area because they could not vote yesterday due to some missing ballot papers. But I think INEC has given them another chance to vote following a protest yesterday by some prospective voters.
Okay, Alambo, I'd like you to generally review yesterday's election in Bayelsa State.
Okay, the elections did not start early. Materials arrived very late, very late. Starting with Yenagua, at 8:30, I was in some of the polling units. No sight of election materials or INEC personnel to conduct the election. The same reports we got from our correspondents and reporters across the 8 local government areas of the state. The only exception being name-based, surprisingly, where elections started a bit earlier at around 9 a.m. Other local government areas, elections did not start. For example, areas such as Brass, elections started about 1 and 2 p.m. in most of the polling units across the communities. For example, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources could not vote till about 5 p.m. Yesterday. The same thing in Southern Niger and parts of Ekremo. Now, this is a recurring decimal because these communities are located very far, deep, close to the Atlantic Ocean. And we've always asked INEC, what plans do you have to ensure that materials arrive at these locations? And they always give us the assurance that everything has been put in place, logistics have been put in place to ensure that materials. Because every election, you discover that this pattern keeps repeating itself. Sometimes it's just brass and Ekeremo. Because in Kenya, to go there, it's not easy. There are some communities in Southern Nigeria, by speedboat, you need to take about 4 hours to get to these locations. And these are the challenges. I don't know why they've not really found a way to solve this problem. I think we should, INEC should look at Bayelsa as a peculiar case and solve this issue of getting materials to far-flung communities in the Atlantic Ocean. So apart from that, everything went on very well. Yes, there were pockets of disturbances as we had from late last night. There was shooting. I understand from one of our reporters, one of the candidates is about briefing the press to assess the situation. And then other areas, the same thing. Some people could not really exercise their franchise as a result of the situation. But overall, the atmosphere is very peaceful, very calm. It's a wonderful Sunday morning, and there is a serenity in Yenekwa and most parts of Bayelsa State.
Okay, as we've said, elections will be holding this morning in about 141 polling units, in Bayelsa State. And there was a press release to that effect from INEC. Could you expatiate more on that press release?
Yes, the head of voter education and publicity, Mr. Wilfred Mfogo, who signed the statement on behalf of the Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Emmanuel Alex Hart, said that they are going to organize the election in 104 polling units in Yenegua. Now, this is the background of why this is happening. In the House of Representatives, like the Federal constituency, the ballot papers were missing. About 50,000 ballot papers were expected. Only 1,500 ballot papers were available. 14,500 ballot papers were missing. So the people insisted that no, without that those ballot papers being produced, elections will not go on. And because of the atmosphere, INEC had to withdraw standard staff detail to conduct the election. And then much later, some other persons stormed the INEC office and insisted that they must find a way to make sure they cast their ballots. So INEC, after all the back and forth, decided that the elections should be holding in these 4 wards and about 104 polling units across the Yenegua local government council. So we're getting ready for that election this morning
Okay,
from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, and before I let you go, can you tell us about the level of awareness of the people concerning today's exercise?
I must say many people may not be that aware because that statement came late last night. Yes, we were told, for example, the protesters that went to the INEC office and headquarters were assured that they will be given the opportunity to vote. But they were asking when. The response then was like maybe later that yesterday, that Saturday. But late in the night, they released the statement that it will be this morning. I must say that the awareness is not that because I have to take time to go to some of the polling units to see if they've really set up material. From my standpoint, nothing on ground, except maybe they are in the rack centers and trying to see how they can distribute the material. But we will just have to keep watching and know how it goes. But the level of awareness, I must say, is not that much. But what I must say is that the people are ready, they're enthusiastic to vote, and you could see their response yesterday. They insisted that they must never be denied the opportunity to cast their votes, and this is what is happening.
Thank you very much, and will keep us posted as events unfold in Bayelsa State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you.
I have another of our correspondents on the line right now. Good morning. Okay. You listen to Fogry and all of that. Then again, another thing I want you to speak on is voter education in our electoral system. Whose responsibility? INEC, political parties? Or is it a shared responsibility?
Okay. I love the questions. The first first is robbery and ballot snatching. I've commended the security agencies for what they've done so far. But ballot snatching, to my dismay, still happened. The ballot papers were wasted and put in the gutters, destroyed, and people painstakingly cast their ballot, left their houses. It's sad. Where were the security agencies at that time? Maybe there should be special training for security agencies, especially the police, or maybe let's leave the police alone, let's see the do this. On being at strategic points at polling units to forestall the snatching of ballot boxes. I think there should be special training for that, because you cannot be as smart as a person who wants to rob you. If it's a 4-year-old child that's going to rob a 47-year-old man, he is smarter because he's watching every move. Therefore, I believe there should be some specialized training in that area. Thuggery still happens. People were intimidated at the center, the polling units. Like this place is for so party. Don't come here. If you're not voting for that, we are looking at what should happen. So, we've done very well this time. These are lapses that should be noted going forward. Then, the terror of places like Bayelsa. I mentioned earlier project management. In that chunk, in our government, to take cognizance of difficult terrains and special recognition should be given to spaces, states like Bayelsa and riverine areas that are difficult to access. Project management there should be a special chunk of that. Training of personnel on what to do. The training of their personnel on what to do in those places. Then how do you? INEC should cross-check material going out. I know it's a tremendous responsibility. The question of ballot papers not being enough. I've not verified this. I hear that some ballot papers did not have a particular political party on it. Is not verified. It may be false. It may be fake news. So I don't know.
It's not.
It's not. It's not true.
It's established.
It's established.
Yes.
Okay. If it's established, then that is not good enough. Going forward, we should have lastly voter education. That's my faulty, and I know it. INEC has a responsibility. There's a section, there's a department of voter education. Civil society has a responsibility to educate the masses on voting. You cannot do it enough. Even the so-called elites don't know how to package their ballot papers after. It's still blocks. So voter education should be continued. People are thinking of so many things. Food to eat, salary, car is back. So you may forget. And the thing will block and it will be invalid. So voter education should involve even the security agencies are not really doing that job. It's not their fault. But let me mention NGOs.
What about the National Orientation Agency?
The National Orientation Agency is saddled with everything. They are the ones to, when children don't behave well, they say what is Noah doing. When this does not happen, they say, I sympathize with Noah. They have so much on their hands. I think they should have that responsibility too. But I think there are civil society organizations that are working on voter education particularly. There should be a coalition of such similar CSOs and NGOs.
For political parties.
I was coming there, but thank you for the political parties have a great responsibility. INEC, the political parties, in that order, then civil society, or maybe it's political parties first, or political parties and INEC are pursued on voter education, and it should be continuous. It's not something that is a one-off. Between the 4 years, voter education is something that should be taken up. But political parties take it up last minute. How to vote. They now start distributing the papers like 4 days or almost to the election. It's not good enough. It should be for the totality of the 4 years. When one election finishes, the cycle begins immediately. We should learn that for project management, for better success in subsequent elections. Thank you.
Let me start with the first issue of thuggery and violence. Based on the improvements and the preparedness towards the election, now the 2023 election, I am of the opinion that we know that the policies taken and some of the plannings really retired many of the merchants of violence and thuggery. Also, the merchandise of voter, vote buyers or vote buying has also been significantly reduced. Now, in psychology, when people are addicted to a particular attitude, and all of a sudden they receive shock of preemption, there's definitely going to be certain accidental discharge. There will be a chain reaction of, that change in a whole lot of an attitude adopted over the years. For a long period of time, from the beginning of our independence to 2015 and into 2019, our elections in Nigeria are characterized with this series of violence and thuggery, and even the politicians are so addicted into it. And this is because of the fact that political parties are not more than beauty pageant, or what I can call, association of armies that are dedicated to win elections. Only that there is serious absence or that diminished political ideology on the parts of the political parties. And of course, politicians are taking the political parties like their coats and jackets. They change them the way they want. And of course, you see politicians junketing from one political party to another, leading to the emergence of the third force. Ordinarily, there shouldn't have been any thoughts about a third force. In the United States, we have seen the consolidation of that ideology. In South Africa, we can see the ANC. You can see the ideology over the years. This is a party built on democracy. The content and ideology of ANC is talking about anti-apartheidness. It's talking about the survival of the people of South Africa or the Africans. It's talking about, rapprochement with friends who come from other parts of the world and other parts of Africa. It's talking about civil, engagement. It's talking about non-violence approach to democracy, etc. But in Nigeria, these militaristic tendencies and the long time of military governance in Nigeria also affected the psyche of people. And of course, every Nigerian is a potential army of a political party. And of course, there is no other strategy of winning elections rather than appealing to these tribal and ethno-religious sentiments, including regional disparities to win elections, appealing to certain baseless, ingredients that are inconsequential to the whole process. But politicians are addicted to all this. Addiction to money politics. Nobody thinks of how you get the money. The only shortcut for you to get to power, the ladder for you to get to power is to get to pile money or stockpile money, which is the most strategic, potent weapons of electoral battle in Nigeria. So over the years, these political parties have failed to have robust ideology. And today you can see, even with the new, what I call the rise of labor, which has given a footprint, which has significantly sent a signal. But it is not yet uhuru for Nigerians because there are correlations of ethnic dominance and intimidation by certain supporters who are to a large extent misguided. But I know with time, with consolidation, people will come to know that perhaps most of these people meant well for Nigerians. The only thing is that sensitization is not as sufficient as it should. And people are now wearing this ethnic and tribal coats and religious garments in order to advance the cause of their political parties. So I am of the opinion that if we begin to dilute technology in our electoral processes, it will go a long way. Because what I have seen yesterday in some areas is that the consciousness, particularly also we have to commend the performances of the media, because we are not talking about the media people. We have to commend them significantly because what they have done and what they have shown yesterday, just like the security people planned, the media had a robust, energetic, contingent arrangement to give a patriotic coverage to this election. And of course, certain people were deterred by their presence, just like in the past when we have, some of these potato arrangements around media intervention in government in election monitoring, where they say, oh, we don't need people to have cameras there to monitor what is going on. No, but when people knew they are in camera, when people see the presence of the press and the media people, they tend to exercise some natural restraint. And of course, it will add to the credibility of the process. And additionally, if with the introduction of Vivas and acknowledgement of technology, just like the case of the Vivas, I saw the INEC chairman talking about one of the component technology of the Vivas machine, which has to some extent provided solution to the lateness in the commencement of election. Because the Vivas has a timer. And of course, those that have started by 8 o'clock have to stop by 2 or 4. The Vivas has an automated program according to the INEC chairman, which starts the timing for the operations of the Vivas commence with the use. For those who start by 8, will stop by 2. Those who start by 10 will stop at 4. The Vivas itself will not stop working until it works for the hours it is programmed to work for. So there is solution. Because of the huge geographical terrain difficulties we have in Nigeria, riverine communities, creeks, mountainous region, very difficult to assess. And based on the arrangement sensitive materials, as I always say, INEC will have to take time and take highly strategic logistics. There are places where you need helicopters. People, forget that recently we experienced a lot of flooding in some communities. In Kebbi said there are communities who need boats. You need helicopters to deliver certain logistics, and you have to pay for them. And INEC is crying. Even INEC has been to some extent affected by the cashless policy, except because of the special provisions which CBN said and promised will make it available. But as at the last hour, though the logistics were provided, arrangement with transporters and motor vehicles had certain hitches. And of course, if you look, for example, in Kano, there were even protests by the electoral workers who said they promised them certain logistics of 4,000 or what have you, but we are not paid, and they had to commence the election. And they said, no, pay, and then we start. And I was not really happy, and many people were not happy because apart from whatever logistics you will be given, there are other patriotic sides of this whole arrangement, whole process. Election is not a business venture. It is a national duty that you have no right even to resist when you are commissioned to do. It's like getting to the army when Nigeria is under attack. You must have to do. So that is also a very strategic.
We're going to take a report now, still talking about fraud and ballot box snatching and all of that, and the concerns of residents of Lafia in Nasarawa State, and that will be by Christians. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you, because a lot of some political analysts have suggested that because of the large population of the country, is it possible for us to spread general election over a period of time, instead of having everything, on a day, on a particular day, because they like, I'll take your opinions on that when we come back from this report. Christianity is ready now for. Yes, you. Yeah, you. I'll come back to you. It's the two of you. When I say you, I mean the two of you. So Christianity, please, let's have it.
There have been reported cases of invasion to packets of accounts by armed thugs at polling units during elections where voting materials were snatched with voters forcefully dispersed. Over the years, voters in some polling units in Nasarawa State have experienced cases of ballot snatching, violent attacks, and destruction of some printed ballot papers during elections. In an interview with Radio Nigeria, a voter and Ngwanu polling unit of Lafayette Metropolis, Mr. John Knoxon, called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to deploy adequate security personnel to polling units identified to be prone to attacks during elections to boost the confidence of electorate.
Our expectation here is based on the way we have been casting our vote. We are expecting that the election here is also going to be free and fair without interference by any problem or any.
Another voter at Police Barracks Road polling unit in Lafayette local government area, Mrs. Halima, and it stressed the need for strong and efficient tribunals for the prosecution of electoral offenders to take target during the elections. She noted that despite cancellation of results from their polling unit in previous elections due to destruction of polling materials by political thugs, she had mobilized women to come out to vote.
The last election that we voted, it was really terrible, especially the one of the governor. After the voting, during the counting time, some thugs now come in. They off the lights, started using machete and still killing the electoral materials, one of our dear life. This time around, we want the government to put law enforcement here, let them be here until that evening time during the counting.
However, the gang leader of the group of thugs, Rambo Nakande, said due to the high level of commitment shown by President Muhammadu Buhari and INEC in entrenching sanity in the nation's electoral process, they have repented from thuggery to ensure peaceful conduct of the elections.
I actually learned my lesson from the previous election. I'm not going to listen to any politician to use me as a talk. At this election, I'm going to be a gentle and a very clear voter, no fighting and no any raising of voice. Everybody will vote according to the constitution of the INEC.
While Gamboshafa alias Sharp Striker regretted that they had gained nothing from thuggery as their sponsors, whom according to him, most times offered them paltry amount of money, Indian pen and other hard drugs will indulge them to perpetrate the act during elections, and they had changed their ways for the better.
They use us after the election, they don't do us, they don't do anything for us. They are calling the attention of the politician to allow the election to be free and fair.
On his part, another repentant truck who pleaded anonymity said they resolved to resist any offer for them to disrupt the elections, despite the persistent pressure on them.
Several times these politician people, they invited us to go there and destroy the whole state and go with it. When we finish, they are going to do something. And the later on, when we finish the work, they are not going to give us anything. But now, this election, and we will promise it, we are the youth. We are not going to destroy anything. We are going and vote this the election. Successfully, when we finish, we just carry ourselves and go. We are not going to destroy anything presently.
The Latvia-based legal practitioner, Mr. Titus Chapu, called on the federal government to focus more on safety of the polling units, given the high level of enthusiasm exhibited by the electorate in the coming elections. In Latvia, Chris Niamtu, Radio Nigeria.
Well done, Chris. Thank you very much for that report. Despite all the enlightenment and campaigns against violence in elections, the issue of thuggery, intimidation, and what I want to describe as a kind of systematic pattern of voter suppression still exists. In fact, we recorded, yesterday, some areas, across the country. Is it that the politicians still relish the use of thuggery and violence? What exactly can we do to get us of this?
Very habits have been on for decades. You cannot wish for it by the stroke of a pen or a song and focus. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. I think what we should be looking at is the recession in the level of government. Is it getting more amplified Is it going lower? I think that's what we should be looking at. Because we don't expect that something that has been happening for a long time and people have been winning. You know that politics in Nigeria is winner takes all. Once you win, you leave others out of it. And you are there as a party. So it's usually a do or die affair. And they put everything into it, and covering is part of it. So we should be happy, or we should be happy to an extent, that the level is not as high
as we used to.
we used to have. But as a mother, I am worried, as a mother and grandmother, I'm worried about the use of drugs in thuggery and elections. And it is tied seriously to the issue of poverty. It is tied also to the issue of poor governance. With people say 10 million, I believe there will be up to 15 million children out of school now in Nigeria, and one of the highest in the world. And miscreants are easy to pick in the streets. They want food for the day. They don't care about the country because the country has done nothing for them that they can see. You know, what of the child who is just 3 years old and has a pad in his hand and pushed out to go and get naira, pennies all over the place. What he had a feeling of anomaly towards the nation state. Because the of the nation state exists. All he needs is the next meal. Then he will take it. So in conclusion, I would say, the level of socialization needs to be inclusive. There is criminalization of poverty. By that I mean that the majority of the populace, of which women are about half, are extremely poor. And that is why they don't come up in politics. They are the mothers that stay at home with these children. And many of the men are polygamous. So you take care of your own children. What do you take care of them with? A poor boss? They are pushed out because they need to feed. So we are looking at issues of governance that will address the issue of poverty. Government cannot employ everybody, but have a tariff that is friendly towards microcredit for women and even men. Have a tariff where socialization into the process, into the society, is wholesome and cannot be opened if the stomach is empty. So the baseline is poverty, hunger, disease, and good governance will do a lot to remedy most of these things. Hunger would be lower if we have better governance.
On the question I asked earlier before we took that report, if we could, you will spread our elections.
And the real feeling is that if we finish elections in one day and spread it to the next day, then the tempo usually goes down. But it's something we can explore because of our population, which by 2050 we're looking at something explosive. So we may not be able to cope in one day. But it's something that should be logistically, scientifically, technically, surreptitiously governed to ensure that we don't make mistakes. If we can have logistics that can take care of the population, we will be the best option. But if it is very difficult, near impossible, then the logistics needs to be governed in a coordinated and synergistic manner to ensure that it does not fail. Because the more you spread an election, the probability of extraneous things entering the process is more.
When you vote apathy.
Even if the voters are ready, the possibility of extraneous negative things like vote buying and co
Setting.
could set in. more than if you had it one day. And not really it out, but if you have to do it, it has to be synergistically coordinated for us to have issues.
Okay, Dr. Abdullahi, thank you. I think I share the same opinion, but I also have some rudimentaries to add to what she has really pointed out, that it has to be solved strategically, scientifically, and also surreptitiously. But then to be more empirical, I believe that the conduct of elections on the issues of technical convenience on the part of the election umpire. Certain things, yes, I share the opinion that yes, election can be spread over days, or as the case may be, because of the population, of course, because the Nigerian population is growing. There were researches I've looked into by maybe 2030 or thereabouts. Nigeria will be the third largest populated country in the world, even ahead of the United States. And then if that is the case, as at the current, we have close to about 90 million registered voters. And we have a lot of people who are still caged or quarantined by the political apathy of sitting on the fence and even undecided to vote, etc. But I think certain development as we move, the excruciating impact of poverty and underdevelopment, or the progresses that will be made in the future, will definitely galvanize or trigger, other voters who have decided not to vote or decided not to partake, because there are people who have developed that political energy not to participate. What will motivate them to participate are two things: either the way at which politicians and leaders destroy this country, or the propensity of excruciating and exacerbating pains that are resulting from the, underdevelopment and backwardness, unemployment, illiteracy, etc., will make them to vote. But I think no, when they see that politicians have decided to be more patriotic, and then their performances are yielding positive results on the horizon, it will definitely motivate them to come out and vote in. But for the ease of the duty and for the ease of their convenience, INEC should be able to look into developing other strategic conveniences to do the election hitch-free, which will solve part of the problem. If you look at it today, we don't have the sufficient manpower in terms of security to be able to man. We have two things to do during the election: to man the ungoverned spaces. We have about 1,200 forest workers. We need people there. And we have close to 1 million polling units. How many are there? What we share. So there is room for a lot of improvements. And then that means from the investigation yesterday, there are certain polling units in highly dangerous locations and difficult geographical terrains where there are no physical presence of security agents. What they do in part of the strategy is to man the flash point where we expect violence. There are areas where we never in history, they have no antecedents of violence and trouble. Then we concentrate more on those areas that have notoriety in this context. And of course, but the situation can change with the emergence of certain forces on the political scene. And therefore, we need their presence everywhere. Then subsequently, INEC need to have their situation where they monitor elections virtually, meaning to have strategic eagle camera, CCTV, at all polling units. Since we have the ability to purchase BVAS machine to all polling units. What makes us not to purchase CCTV, strategic CCTV cameras in each polling unit to show us who and who, because it will send deterrence to those people. We can get them. So next time we should be thinking of getting cameras so that everything will be displayed in a all this, ample enough to provide evidence for cancellation, for suspension, for what have you. It shouldn't be just through verbal evidence or audio, whatever. Let's see it, because today the world has been predisposed to believing what it sees more. Because the first empirical thermometer for measuring or gauging the scientificity of a phenomenon is seeing, which has to do with the virtual cameras or with the CCTV to monitor all the polling units. We must update ourselves into that. Secondly, we must also strategically fix elections in states based on alphabetic order, because Nigeria has certain sensitivities of its fault lines. We can say, oh, the southern election is today, the northern election is tomorrow. No. Put the state on alphabetical order. The A and B states, or we start it from the ground, the ZW and Y states should start. We conduct election with a peculiar information or ballot papers or what it is. While other elections, other states on that alphabetic order or whatever codes given to them, which will superimpose itself upon the visible growing sentiments that we have. We shouldn't allow sentiment to take over, so that we move into one day saying, oh, the Christian will vote today, tomorrow, and the pagans. This will also, INEC should look into that possibility. Thirdly, INEC should be able to look at the classifications of electoral materials. We commend the effort of having different ballot papers for House of Reps, House of Representatives, and the presidential. That's good. But beyond that, you should also consolidate and look up to strategic consolidation of the cannot be snatched in one polling unit or one community and to work in another community. Just as we saw yesterday, one of the satellite towns in the FCT in Juba. The soldiers need to intervene somewhere in Juba to climb roof of houses to be able to chase people who took away the ballot boxes and the papers. And of course, by the time you have some of these strategic inscriptions, I'm not saying print ballot papers like money, but people really complain of the quality. These are things some people say can be produced in Oluwole or produced in Area. If you have a peculiar security characteristics that differentiates it from what could be used in other places. So every unit, we have that capability. There are software that will give categorization according to polling units. Ballot paper is invalid when moved from where it is supposed to be used. Because of those security features, I've seen it in the United States, I've seen it in India, I've seen it in other places. In fact, in India, because India is the largest democracy in the world, with close to 1 billion people. If India would conduct election in a day or two, why not Nigeria, which is not even up to 20 or 30% of India? Now, finally, the issue of developing, also I need to be looking at developing the e-voting system or the emailing voting system where those citizens that are educated, democracy has this danger of giving both educated and non-educated equal right of participation. No matter how educated you are entitled to civil vote. Yes. No matter how uneducated a particular individual is entitled to equal vote. Both of you decide who governs you. The possibility of those who are in the majority, perhaps the non-educated, will end up providing vegetables and potato leadership for you. The educated ones, and you will suffer the consequences, just as Socrates will warn the people of Greek and the Europeans. That will go for the whites who refuses to rule, will suffer the administration of idiots. And of course, therefore, how then do we and the political philosopher kings are the educated? And of course, here, democracy makes provisions for all. And therefore, you can see there is a dynamic struggle between the educated and the non-educated to be able to see and guide the system in such a way that leaders that deserve to govern this republic
Get to power.
get to power, not misfits getting into the corridors of power simply because they've been smuggled in by certain people who are not conscious
Okay,
of the
so
system.
still looking at the way forward, from this issue of forgery, ballot snatching, and other forms of electoral malpractice. I'd like to have your views on the crucial issue of impunity. Because where there is no deterrence, so to speak, there is people offenders have the courage to continue to commit crime and all of that. Lack of arrest, logical and conclusive prosecution, as well as punishment for electoral offenders has been the bane of political development, in this country. I'd like to know what kind of synergy would you like to see between INEC and probably the Ministry of Justice, the judiciary generally? Let me start from Dr. Kusa.
Because we don't see electoral offenders brought to justice. Even when it is said that some have been apprehended, that's the end of it. You don't get anything anymore. But with the Reformed Electoral Act, there are provisions about electoral violence, the punishment for certain, and I'm hoping that the PFCC, because there's punishment for good crime, all that. There's punishment for election malpractice. There is punishment for forgery and the bringing arms of polling units. So it has been said that there should be an electoral offences tribunal. But we have been spread so thin on different tribunals. Should we have another tribunal for electoral offences where some of these have been taken cognizance of in the Constitution, in the Electoral Act? Because money will be spread thin. But election is very important. Democracy has many elements, but election, the electoral process is so acrimonious because it's the process of selecting the person who sits there. Therefore, it is seen as a deep order affair. Some are saying that because of the importance of the electoral process and elections, we need to have an electoral offences tribunal. The second school of thought, the other school of thought is that we don't need it. It's covered in the electoral act and it can be taken to the normal courts. Whatever it is, whatever we decide to take of the two ends, culprits must be brought to justice and be seen to be brought to justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. It should be done fast. Before even the people who have been elected come to office, there should be speeding judgment on their cases so that people know that these people have done something wrong. Others who are planning to do the same thing would caution themselves. So impunity needs to stop. Whether we have an electoral offences tribunal or we use regular courts, they must be brought to justice. That's my position.
Thank you. That's not right.
Yeah, in line with what my colleague said, I would like to start by the fact that part of the problem instigating troubling and violent during elections has to do with the diminishing or absence of this political will from the side of the leadership. When I say leadership at all levels, and specifically it has to do with the presidency. looking at the antecedents, or I say looking at what President Muhammadu Buhari has done, and whatever he has done is equally informed by the precedents which brought him into power. In other words, what President Jonathan did, the way and manner in which he succumbed to the visible defeats that took place in 2015, and by implication, has also imposed a serious burden upon the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari to also do, if not say, they have to do something significantly great beyond what the sacrifices Jonathan have done. So of course we can see that the body language and actions of President Muhammadu Buhari in the last couple of months really signified this direction in terms of what can I ask him, what can I do, or what do we do to be able to improve the integrity of our elections and the electoral system. So that depends on the political will. The political will still is not sufficient enough to send the right signal to those who commit trouble. But I commended his effort in 2019 and also in today's 2023, where orders, marching orders are given to the security forces. And I commended the leadership of the security forces by giving these people a civil security approach to electoral security, which, as I said, what we saw in Bayelsa and in some areas of Kano and Lagos, where both the people and the security forces, including the military, surprisingly the military for the first time has been exercising restraint and also engaging the citizens. This is to tell you that there is high propensity of consolidation of our democratic governance in this country. So we appreciate the process. So that's number one. Number two, she made mention of the tribunal, no tribunal. In the UN's recommendation to Arindiaraba, there was this provision of setting up of not only the electoral tribunal, it's a special electoral offenses courts, which will only be saddled with that responsibility. Today you will see that the Court of Appeal and what have you will be setting courts, tribunals for governorship election and what have you election. But who is there whenever you submit cases that have to do with electoral violence, which thwarted the integrity of the process? There has never been any visible instances of robust punishments or judgment that has mated sufficient what I can say punishment to offenders, but rather heavyweights or politicians come into play. And if you want some of this, because most of them only hear of arrest, they don't get to know what arrest is. But later you will see the same people be back to the community. I have seen a case where somebody, because of electoral violence and trouble, killed someone in the community. After some time, he has been arrested. After some time, the person was released back to the community. And of course, this has sent the wrong signal to the people and has added to the content of apathy and disenchantment of citizens in terms of the allergic tendencies not to vote. And this is not helping the democratic process. We also rely on the opinion, and I told you who said that, like the EFCC, people are now propagating that the EFCC and ICPC should have a special tribunal or special courts to try corruption cases. Because some of the courts we have today, they are just in and out courts. And of course, it's not giving us the required deterrence we need. If you jail people and you sentence people to commensurate punishment to their offenses, it will send signal to others, and people will confess, and people will be deterred from performing that merchandise of violence. So INEC is not having its electoral offenses courts. Two, another recommendation is to have what they call EEC, EOC, Electoral Offenses Commission in Nigeria, to document some of these things. During election, you see their task force or you see their personnel documenting, and they also have an intelligence ambit in synergy with the security agencies, gathering evidence about those who participated or those offenders in election matters. And of course, we'll take it up to the tribunal, jail them or give them appropriate punishment commensurate to offenses. And finally, just as I advocated the issue of technology, if we can put technology, I am just giving example with India, because India is also a third world that has elevated itself to certain positions. So Nigeria, it has some similarities with India. And of course, we can borrow from what India does. India is super in technology, we know. And they monitor some of these polling units, documents electoral thuggery and violence matters. And at the end of the day, try to penalize them. One of the observable shortcomings of the Indian system is that the money backs in India. So the billionaires who have done the process are not being properly checkmated. And of course, there is a loophole. But in Nigeria, we have, just as I advocated, that we should have every ballot, every polling unit should have a certain number of security forces and should have what we call the beavers, the backups, and also should have a camera that is monitoring the process, including the fact that ballot papers in bulk and the ballot boxes are supposed to have certain technology representation in terms of trackers. Okay. In India and the other countries I've seen, I don't want to mention too much. If you take it, you will be caught.
Okay. Yes. I need to speak to one of our correspondents. I think I have Raphael Ekwe is from Rivers. Good morning, Raphael.
Good morning. Good morning.
Give us an update on the situation in Rivers concerning the elections today.
Okay, I've come around some polling units. No voting going until after nobody is polling units. But in particular, polling that went to Nukabumaya, over there, the INEC or other staff, they abandoned the materials at the polling units. Both the computer papers, the boxes, all the materials, they give us carriers, don't the members of not there. Everyone abandoned those in just the thing.
Okay, what is the turnout like?
People are not going to do something around. There's no serious much right now. They are supposed to even waited in line to vote, but that machine was not functioning properly. So the people are going back again. But this morning, it's not hard to have a person in the street.
Are INEC officials already at the polling units?
The ones that need to go, nobody goes.
Okay, give us a picture of the security arrangements for today's elections.
The ones that need to go, nobody in the polling unit. There's nobody there. About like 6 polling units in this world, there's nobody there.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that for now, but keep us posted, let's know what happens in the course of the elections. Thank you, Raphael. I'll leave you for now. We expect to hear from you on the program later. Of course, I think Dr. Kusa. All right, INEC officials not around, voters not there, and
On the first day. Yesterday, a woman
was phenomenal.
A woman went to the mat on Friday night. She was standing on social media, took a mat, slept there. A woman, elderly woman, took a mat, slept there, was carrying her mat as she was completing so that it will not steal the mat. It was trending. So that kind of enthusiasm you see today, no voters. It's even worse. Yesterday, voters were there, no INEC officials. Today, no INEC officials, no voters. So, what we were trying to postulate earlier about spreading the elections, we are saying something about it. I won't say more.
But we need to take a bit before, but I'd like to have your own.
Yeah, just as she said also, I think based on the improvement and what we have seen,
Mm.
in spite of the diminishing one of the diminishing vocabulary in the dictionary of INEC, what we call the inconclusivity. We have not seen inconclusivity, but we are gravitating systematically towards inconclusivity of the electoral process. But I think the apathy happens to be the major thing, motivated by really the hitches in the, what I say here, the security arrangements, and the failure of the political parties to exercise their constitutional mandated, rules upon punishing offenders of the process in terms of the arrangement made by parties, for example. The governor in the state has not been helping matters and not apportioning blame. His political party or the political parties were not helping matters. So Rivers happens to be one of a critical, a critical specimen that INEC needs to also use.
I'll give the two of you a few seconds each to respond to this question. What would you be telling INEC and political parties now to do concerning this issue? So we have voters out there to vote and for security. Please let me jump. Let me always jump.
For the sake of the
INEC should send its personnel to all the places not manned immediately. They are hearing us now. They know where the problems are. Please send your personnel out so they can look at that.
Also, the security people should also have to be on ground and give the people the required confidence to be able to vote, because the apathy and energy developed by the people and what we have seen this morning is because of the deteriorating security situation in the state, which the parties, the governor, and also the folks on the security aspects. And this needs to be clear.
You're listening to Monday Studio on Africa's largest radio network, Radio Nigeria. We'll take a break now. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Radio Nigeria, lifting the people and uniting the nation.
African children are coming to you. We are sure trying to live together, not to kill and eat one another. We are from one father and mother, so that means we are brothers and sisters. In your with peace and chance, on the way with peace and chance. Whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever you say, wherever you are, African leader, what do you do? African chieftains, so they do. Losing the chains that the body complains. This is the time for us to find the love. Settle the blood, you can't come to destruction. For this is the time to make the solid destruction. Yeah, with this a chance. On the way, with this a chance. Whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever you say, wherever you are. Hello, Papa, how do you do? Hello, Mama, I'm sorry for you. Keep your children from being late. Mother will be everywhere in the way. Is there a bed when you will be playing? Is there a good girl with you to your name? Give me your love, give me a chance. On the way, give me a chance. Whatever you teach, whatever you learn, whatever you feel, however you go. African people are beautiful. African children are beautiful. We all should try to live together. Not a kidnap each other. We are from one father and mother. So that we are brothers and sisters. In your own, give a chance. And the way give a chance. Whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever you say, whatever you are, whatever you do, whatever we learn, however we sing, however you do, wherever you are, wherever you come.
It's the only radio network in Nigeria, the network that attracts over 40 million high net worth individuals. Unarguably, the only radio channel that draws key decision makers to incisive and up-to-date news, scintillating sportscasting, and exciting programming. Radio Nigeria Network serves the haven for discerning investors who wish to reach their target audience at the lowest cost per thousand. Your brand and corporate image deserve nothing less than a sustained exposure on Radio Nigeria Network service. Try us today.
Let's have some. Nigerians are peace-loving and hard-working people.
And countries only develop and grow when there is peace and stability.
There are different kinds of problems in every society, and so in every country.
If there are problems here, Nigeria is not an exception.
There is no society, no country where violence and poverty has solved that problem.
No matter the problem, no matter the issue.
Let us sit down like brothers and sisters. Use that to resolve the problems.
Remember, you have to give account of every action you take. People hear of her, then before your creator.
Please let us work together for a peaceful Nigeria.
It's the only radio network in Nigeria, the network that attracts over 40 million high net worth individuals. Unarguably, the only radio channel that draws key decision makers to incisive and up-to-date news, scintillating sportscasting, and exciting programming. Radio Nigeria Network Service, the haven for discerning investors who wish to reach their target audience at the lowest cost per thousand. Your brand and corporate image deserve nothing less than a sustained exposure on Radio Nigeria Network Service. Try us today.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Journalists, welcome back to the network service of Radio Nigeria, Africa's largest radio network. And this is the second leg of Monday Studio, and this is Sunday, the 26th of February 2023. And of course, I still have my guests in the studio. I have Dr. Abdullahi Bello and Dr. Oluyemi Kusa in the studio. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. We understand that there is a protest going on right now at Lube area of Abuja. And of course, our correspondent, Musa Kucha, is right there to give us an update on what is going on. Hello, Musa, can you hear me? Musa, are you here? Are you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, what exactly is going on at Lube? Can you hear me, Musa? Yes, well, good morning. What is going on? Why are they protesting? We understand there's a protest right now.
So, polling unit 009. Now, the voters were gathered here, but some of them are complaining that they were registered without being given ballot paper. Now, some people got their registration, and there are some got marked with the mother to say that they have voted, but they have not voted. Now, they said there was someone who was here, some printing of ballot paper, and some of he gathered here, hoping that the INEC official will be here to conduct the election. Now, they are protesting now, saying that they must vote, and they are coming on INEC to quickly with material because some of them have even been saying that if INEC refuses to show up here, they will be coming to INEC office. Now, I asked some of the protesters here that are willing to speak to.
Okay, let's have it.
Hello.
Hello, Musa, we're waiting for you. You said you have one of them to speak to us.
Yes, I have one of the protesters here.
Yes, there are over 8,000 people in Colorado and New that predicted God and they give you a ballot paper to play. So when you go to here by 5 a.m. in the morning, till 5 in the evening, no one person voted there. And we discover that they are predicted God from over the inside, from printing on ballot paper. And only for that person, choose people remember that everybody came up in mass to vote. Over 8,000 people. No one single person voted from 5 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. in the evening. No inside.
Okay, that's one of the protesters narrating how it changed yesterday.
All right, Musa, do we have INEC officials there? What about the security agents? Are they there to check this process that does not escalate?
At the moment, there's no INEC officials there, only the press right here. No INEC officials, no security agents at all.
Okay, please keep safe, Musa. We'll get back to you. Just keep us posted as events unfold there. But keep safe, please. Thank you. All right, you heard it.
This is sad. Very sad. No INEC officials, no security agents, and it's alleged, I did not see, that there is thumbprinting going on in a room inside there. Probably it's a school. They are doing thumbprinting and the people can view it. It is very sad. It's the first report I'm hearing like this during this election. There might be more, but this is the first one I'm hearing. No INEC officials, no security agents. the generation corpus, this is
Yeah,
from
yeah, the corpus
corpus,
sounds,
yes, and they are likely to be, those on temporary
ad hoc staff.
of INEC. And people can view them, don't print it. Something needs to be done. Security agents need to be, first of all, security agents, before INEC officials, need to be matched, not dispatched, matched to that venue. As quick, this is the federal capital, as quickly as possible, then the INEC can follow. But the security has to be there. And then, all those who have been done printing, the crowd should not allow them to move. They should be handed over to the security agencies once they arrive. That's my take.
I think for me, actually, a different, view. There is for me, being a forensic expert in investigation, I know there is mixed up in that report. And the response of one of the protesters, also there are certain, incongruence in it, because we have to be also fair to INEC. And I also call on the political parties, because I have also observed the election in some areas across the city. You see, one of the protesters was responding to the fact that they were up to 8,000. In a polling unit, you can have up to 8,000, not even 4,000. We are talking of 8,000. So probably something may have happened. There was reshufflement. INEC did some reshufflement. This time we have been victim of the national elimination and also non-sensitization, or the sensitization has not gotten there. For example, in Gwagwalada Area Council, we went to phase 1 in Gwagwalada Area Council. There is a mix-up. The reshufflement or the INEC officials went there. For the past 5 years, people have been voting at Junior Hatch Camp, which is a very large, concentration of voters, area. But this time around, people came to vote at the Junior Hatch Camp, but INEC officials and the security forces went back to the Senior Hatch Camp. There's Junior, there's Senior. And the polling unit now, I don't know what is the arrangement, but was shifted over there. But what the political parties did was to keep some of their agents in the old polling unit to sensitize people who come and ask to vote. And I believe in that polling unit there were about 560 something people. So for somebody to say there are more than 5,000 to 7,000, almost 8,000 people in the place, there's definitely going to be a mixed up somewhere. And then INEC, if they listen to us, the political parties, if they listen to us, should move to Lugbe 009 polling units to be able to sensitize people or tell them whether that particular previous polling unit that was there has been shifted to another location, so that these Nigerians who are complaining of disenfranchised will be there. Another issue observable within this election across the country was the issue of some people who registered but did not collect their voters' cards, and also went there and struggled, fight to be allowed to vote in the absence of having physical PVC. Even though in one of the states we observed prior to the election that hunters found some, littered or some disbanded voters' cards. I don't know whether the police has concluded the investigation in terms of who are these people on the voters' card. The political parties have therefore followed up the case to be able to be sure that the voters' cards are either reprinted or distributed to the right people. Then the issue of dead persons also. Some people have definitely died because life from there is not as robust as it should. And therefore some people missed out. And of course, there are so many uncollected PVCs. Yeah, so these are, technical problems, if I may put it this way, because we are still alleging. And the issue of, say, some people were accredited but were not allowed to vote, has dispelled the position that INEC people were not there. Then who came? Was it the accreditation was done by angels or spirits?
Okay.
No. So we need to look at this situation very critically. The political parties should go there in order to ascertain. INEC should also go there to ascertain and put it clear to the citizens what
I'm sure our correspondent gave back to us and all of that. Dr. Kesa.
Lugbe polling unit 00, is it 9?
9, yeah.
909.
3 things should happen immediately. The first, INEC should be there. Security agencies first to keep the peace, INEC and political parties. The 3, if they were there, they would have been able to sort out who are those to be here, because it's very common, even in Abuja, many have to walk to a different polling unit. A friend of mine was using her Jeep yesterday to pick people from where she voted to where they should, where she voted, because the original place was where all of them were. They didn't even know the thing had changed. That's a civic duty for a patriotic Nigerian. She was using her field. About 20 times she moved in Nigeria with all those people, and she took them there and there was peace. If INEC was there, security agencies are there, and political parties were there, then the issue of whether they are telling the truth or they are not telling the truth would not be so serious. INEC would have been able to advise them, your polling booth has shifted for this number of people, or in this place, in this polling unit, only this number are allowed to vote here. I think the absence of these 3 categories of persons is the major issue, and it should be there outside.
I want to chip in that INEC will not be there. INEC will be at the appropriate place approved. The security people are the ones that should be there, and the political parties, if they are in tandem with us, hearing us on air, go there, look at the situation, get the complaint, and be able to direct people to do what they are supposed to do. It's their civic responsibility. Nobody is perhaps attempting to disenfranchise them. But I want to believe that what has happened is similar to what has happened in other places we have observed. The delegation and change of place of voting or polling units. And I'm sure, because that very polling unit 009, I know it. And there's a high concentration of not too conscious citizens. Let me put it this way. I don't want to say illiteracy. It's more derogatory. But let me say high concentration of not too conscious citizens. And of course, the total absence of INEC or whosoever there, is speaking louder than what we're supposed to hear. So the right thing to be done is that political parties and their agents should be there to guide people appropriately and redirect them to where appropriately they should go and vote. But the highlight or the large number of people there, up to 8,000, I don't think there's a problem. So people could have imaginary, there are different kinds of problems you will observe there. So people don't even have the PVC, or some people just registered and have not collected the PVC and are there to say they want to vote in their 8,000. How possible is this in a polling unit that was that massive?
Yeah, there was fake news before the election that you could vote without your voter's card. And the chairman of INEC came out categorically the day before to say, look, no PVC, no voting. So don't be disillusioned by any fake news.
I'm still talking about fake news. Since I think from midday yesterday, particularly on the social media, there have been all manner of results emanating from different parts of the country.
Yeah.
The issue of fake news is a big problem, in the evolution of this our electoral system.
Yeah.
And some will say that it's very dangerous, a trend now, because virtually results have been emanated from all the states, and INEC has not even on the island of INEC to get to have results.
Yeah.
But if you open your phone now, you see a lot of results from the north, south, everywhere.
and lots of the senatorial, House of Assembly, House of Representatives are doing the presidential results.
It's showing desperation of the citizens. And of course, the social media has provided a platform for armchair and accidental journalists who have really proliferated the space of the press. And of course, we have seen that several people have attributed illegally the status of INEC to themselves. And one of the important destructive strategy of some of the political parties and some supporters is the manipulation of the psyche of the citizens through the instrumentality of fake news and what we call the emotional intelligence, engagements, where people created. They must have created this news a long time ago. This is what we're going to do. All these people are mischievous. But if they want to win, what we expected in the process was that people should genuinely and should be calm and follow the legal process because there are established rules and extant regulations that monitor this process. Only INEC, anything that is not certified by INEC is illegal, it is not true, it is orchestrated to instigate violence and push citizens into the unpredictables. And the vision and mission of having that new Nigeria that we wanted will be truncated. And of course, when we kill Nigeria, we will only live in the shadow. And I want to say that no West African country, no Francophone country neighboring Nigeria, or no country in Africa has the capacity and capability to be able to house Nigerian refugees.
That is instructive.
And of course,
we cannot say it enough. Sorry,
yeah,
we cannot say it enough that only INEC is authorized
to declare results.
So any result, apart from INEC result, should be disregarded.
Absolutely.
This is Radio Nigeria with a high sense of responsibility as a patriotic Nigerian. Please, electorate, any result not from INEC is not authentic. Yeah.
And as you have said, you cannot say it enough.
Yeah.
Any result that is not declared, by INEC is not authentic. Please, disregard those results, coming into your phones, your iPad and everything, resulting across the country. INEC has not declared any results concerning yesterday's elections. So please, no results, leave it out, yes.
I want to chip in something. I also want to call on the political gladiator to be able to have the courage to exercise restraint so that we can have a credible, free and fair election. Judging from what has happened in the past, for example, in 2015, we have seen something happened. The then president called the supposed winner of the election, President Muhammadu Buhari, before INEC
declared results,
anchored on the precedence of law and on the provisions of the Electoral Act. Before the declaration, the president had called on President Muhammadu Buhari to say, "Congratulations, you have won." When that same person was watching the movie of that result declaration on TV, INEC has not authorized it by law. So when President Muhammadu Buhari received the call, he was also shocked and amazed because of the tension. I knew that what motivated Jonathan was because of the tension and his predisposition not to stimulate violence, which his body language prior to the election in 2015 had shown clearly. But it was wrong to congratulate a winner based on mere perception. Even if you have the result, INEC must have to use the guardian of the law to be able to certify it valid for consumption to the public. But if you do, some people, based on that perception, because in security balance, perception is one of the greatest sources of threat to human lives and property. People could have contaminated perception about issues, and then it stimulates emotional reaction, which could be highly, highly destructive. And therefore, just as this saying goes that words are more sophisticated than bombs, missiles, and bullets, because the destructive implications of what people say, either on fake news platforms, in the media, and so on and so forth, could make us not only to lose that democracy. When we lose democracy, according to Jefferson, we will lose the Constitution. We will lose beyond all, we will lose a country. And when you lose a country, you have lost everything. Nigerians should be able to know we have no alternative. There is no photocopy to this republic.
This is our
Nigeria is Nigeria, this is our
All right, Dr. Kusa.
Make it better.
All I would add to it is the citizens should remain calm. Whoever wins this election, Nigeria remains Nigeria. Whoever wins the election, if your candidate loses, Nigeria remains. If your candidate wins, Nigeria remains. We want good governance. We want good schools for our children. We want health care. We want good roads. We want fairness. So if these things are given to us by whoever wins, it doesn't have to be your candidate, although it's difficult to pacify any politician that it doesn't have to be him. But that is the truth of the matter. Nigeria is more important than any political party or any politician or any citizen.
Dr. Kusa, another issue that is closely related to this declaration of the results by non-authorized people is we saw yesterday some voters, a few voters, actually displayed their thumb-printed ballots. And I know that section 122, I don't know if I'm right now, of the electoral law says it is let's answer.
I don't need help. I want my mouth to speak. So,
go ahead now. Go ahead.
you wanted because you do not mention the big fish, I will also not mention it, but it's of an offense, really. But the atmosphere is tense, and there's been a lot of politicking before the election about loyalty within the party. I'm not sure this is for radio, but it's in the public domain about loyalty in the party. So some are saying that the biggest fish that showed it wanted to say that he's not disloyal to the party's candidates, and that I'm showing you is the party's candidate I voted for. Some are saying I'm not holding breath for anybody, but some are, and even the press secretary has said what he did was correct. But according to the Electoral Act, it's a wrong move. And in fact, in other crimes, it could obliterate many things in the election because many could follow suit. But the bottom line, it was wrong to show who you voted for.
It's a secret ballot.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Abdullahi.
Yeah, just she was saying that the president himself, publicly what he has voted for, which was also a violation of the provisions of the law. But he has argued for those people who supported, argued based on morality, that the president owed moral responsibility to his party because of the accusations that he might have divided loyalty, against the party. And of course, it is not only the president that did that. certain big parties also, governors and whatever.
Yes.
Show it clearly. You know, the biggest, but I remember, I think the
politicians.
under the provisions of the law. The president could do that, and you can just forgo that because the president has an immunity provisions in the law, in the constitution. There are things the president, not all the president does, every citizen has the right to do. Because it is the same constitution that addresses the president, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the firepower of the federation. This is an unlimited power. Subsequently, we have to look into curtailing the excesses of the leadership of this country. But politicians also in several places and heavyweights also need the same thing to show the people. This is where it's a communication, whether we like it or not. But it is a direct violation of the law. But I don't believe perhaps that law has the legal teeth to bite anybody who has done that. But I think rather than the president maybe to have his legacy being questioned about the integrity of the elections he conducted, he decided to tell these people, saying, oh, the president's loyalty is in another party. I have shown you, I have done my best. Now that has doused that tension completely. Now, but for the other politicians, other presidential candidates and their supporters, they fling it, we saw it. And of course, so the ambush on the law is, everywhere. Now, but I would like to also caution the citizens about excessive adherence to this politics of sentiments. I want us to look at the issue of what we call the politics of parochialism, where people appeal to this ethnic and sentiments. People should be able to know there's no amount of strategic engagement within a cycle of tribal and religious enclaves that will produce a leader for Nigeria. People should be able to know one entire region in Nigeria is incapable, according to our law, to produce a president. No region of this country has the capacity to do that. No religion in this country has the capacity to do that. The confusion are created basically by some of these religious leaders who hide in religious garments to project political interests.
We need to go to Kogi State now, where I understand we have a correspondent, Oyiza Bello. Hello, Oyiza. Oyiza, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sure.
All right. What's the situation like at your location?
Yesterday, I made the scheduled election in 9 units in the local government area of Kogi State. I'm currently at code 042 local village. There is no presence of INEC officials, but the votes of some security personnel are on ground.
Okay, can you tell us about the security situation during yesterday's elections?
The security men were freely on ground yesterday. They are in the Syria part. There was, at when we came to Granaja area of Kogi, the Commissioner of Police was there, immigrations were here, and not the police, the custom, the national, what they call it, the civil defense were also here at yesterday. And even this morning, we have the military, we have the police, and we also have the civil defense as well.
Okay, can you confirm to us, there were reports of gunshots in parts of Kogi State yesterday, and that in particular, one or two local government areas were a kind of cordoned off, that voters in those areas were not able to exercise their franchise. I think Okehi and Okene, are correct. Can you confirm to us?
Yes. After Okehi, in the government, we heard that there were national ballot boxes and gunshots. At that government too, we also heard of some series of attacks on voters.
Okay, keep us posted, Lisa. We'll leave it at that for now. As events unfold, let's know what goes on in your location. Right. Thank you, and be safe.
Thank you.
That was correspondent Lisa Bello, from Kogi State, talking about violence in some parts of the states during the elections yesterday, and the fact that some local governments, voters from some local governments were not able to exercise the franchise.
Okay, violence against women in politics
Who does that?
seems to be, no, I'm talking about Kogi.
Kogi, yeah.
Seems to be playing out, I'm talking of Kogi, seems to be playing out.
I want you to take it only, not just violence against women, but women's participation in politics generally.
Violence against women is a big part of disenfranchising women from the political space. And Natasha Akoti and Yaya Bello are from Kogi Central, and which is calm, well, is relatively calm. But Kogi East is a hotbed. I don't know whether it's still a hotbed today, but as of yesterday, it was hot. And there was snatching of ballot boxes, destruction of polling units. These are reports from yesterday, and etc. in the Kenya local government area. So, and Akoti came, social media, I don't take it so seriously, but these are clips that were put there, that she had been calling off, and that she cannot even come out. She showed the things, it was social media, not verified. So, this is a problem. But because I'm a woman, I don't want to get too sentimental about it, because it could have been a man, but this had been going on with Natasha and the governor for quite some time, even in 2019. Even in 2019, similar issues happened. So, I don't know. Violence can take many forms. It can be verbal, it can be physical attack, it can be lack of access to roads, like is happening. It can be threats about your children. I know where the school. A man may not be so bothered about it, but when you mention my children, I jump. Like I've done many times. When you mention my children, I live where I am. I want to go there immediately. So a woman's reaction is different to these things. And what is perceived as violence for a woman may not be the same for the man. You know. And when we're talking about gender equality, that is why we talk about gender equity for women as a stepping stone for that equality, because men have been there for so long. I don't want to go there. It's my passion. Thank you.
All right, that's all. Yeah, women's participation in politics and violence against women in elections.
Yeah, we have seen that. I think it's not new, that particular political friction between the governor and
how do we change the narrative?
Powerful ladies. It's just to call over because they belong to the youth cluster. And of course, I have to call on them not to disgrace and put to shame the constituency they came from. They have double constituencies. Apart from the fact that both of them came from Kogi as a constituency, they are all belonging to the cluster of the young people, which is the most instrumental constituency. The governor should be the beacon of hope for the youth of this country. But unfortunately, certain things are just really coming out that are not really the reflection of what ought to be of the young or the youngest governor in Nigeria. But I think if he will, to a certain extent, adjust and do what he needs to do, and the youth of this country will be proud of him. But also the women dimension of it, or the orchestrated violence that is targeted towards the women, it's not something also new, because it has been there. We have seen where probably the violence, what have you. Many or 90% of some of these electoral crimes are committed by men, so to say. Even though yesterday in Kaduna and in Edo, we've seen where women are used, because politicians are clever. One of the women are the ones used to be buying, because they have sweet lyrics. they know the strategy more. A lady was found with a lot of stockpile of voters' cards she has bought. Her phone was checked. Several transfers to certain individuals. Investigation is on. Oshomole in Edo State also intercepted one of the agents of a particular political party and has been, is under investigation. They've seen the transfers he has made to voters to influence or to continue with the merchandise of vote buying. And in several locations across the country, even here in the FCT, we've seen situations whereby some of those people are looking for the lowest hanging fruit of who will be the next victim so that they can change his mindset. Please, we will transfer this thing, we have dollar, but we will do all this. We've seen them, but the EFCC and ICPC also needs to be commended because they are vigilant and the evil eyes were shined more on the electorate, and of course, they send a serious signal that requires a lot of commendation, and also there are room for improvement in the deficiencies we have observed. Just as we said, Kogi is one of the most dangerous flashpoints in terms of elections in Nigeria, and particularly or specifically this time around. So I call the security agencies to be able to do more. And INEC is hearing what we're saying. They should be able to find out and also send their contingent there so that those Nigerians in Ajakuta, the 9 polling units in Ajakuta should not be disenfranchised, because 9 units could make a difference, could add to a presidential candidate, and he will have an edge, or that the votes coming from there is enough to balance the pendulum. It may be sending the country into a wrong. So these people should not be neglected or be disenfranchised.
Okay. Please be reminded that we're still live on YouTube at Radio Nigeria Network and on Facebook at /Radio Nigeria. YouTube at Radio Nigeria Network and Facebook at /Radio Nigeria, the part of this program, Monday Studio. Dr. Kusa, he just said that it's not new, it's been going on. What do we do to change the narrative?
This is a patriarchal society where men have been in charge before my great-grandmother was born. And in fact, women have been recruited for female genital mutilation. They have to comply, or else they will be sanctioned. Grandmas will do the female genital mutilation, which is unnecessary and would give the girls mental health issues which they don't even know. It's now we are giving labels to these things, mental health, female genital mutilation. They've been happening for centuries. And you don't decree that kind of thing overnight. No, nobody hands power over voluntarily. It takes advocacy, it takes reorientation, it takes communication, and especially strategic communication in the language of the grassroots for this message to sink. Even in the West, they're saying that for women to catch up with men for equality, it will take another maybe 300 years or so. So I don't know how many hundreds it will take us here. The conclusion here is more sensitization is necessary. You cannot decree over a patriarchal society to stop being patriarchal overnight. That is not to say it is desirable. But this radio program is part of the sensitization. And I commend Radio Nigeria for putting 4 hours in the morning and maybe another 4 hours in the evening on this electoral process.
Yes.
And while we are mirroring this electoral process, so many things are coming out. Violence against women, violence against the electorate, feminization of poverty, the issue of poverty, drugs in the society, drugs in the elections, underage voting, because we saw a bit of that. Kano was a classic example where a high-level officer, I will not mention who, in the state was asked, How come there's so many underage children in these polling booths in your state and you are here? This is obvious. That was a correspondent asking me. He said, the answer was, you don't know the genetic makeup of every child. That child that has refused to grow, he might be 17, he might be 18 and be looking 6. I thought that was a lame answer. Seriously. So many things have come out in our discourse this morning. Underage voting, vote buying, vote selling, feminization of poverty, the effect, good governance, poor governance, what it can do, healthcare, education, and so forth. It's a potpourri of so many things. Election brings all these things together, and I'm happy we're discussing them. We're making progress. And this violence against women is not something that will stop immediately, but we need to advocate. And I commend Radio Nigeria for putting this on the front burner. Thank you.
Before I come to you, Dr. Abdullahi, because I know that out of the over 15,000 contestants in this election, you understand, I'm not sure how many formed up to 8% of them, but I'll come back to you. We need to go to Bauchi now. We have Abubakar Baba Ahmed. Hello, Abubakar.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well, ma'am.
All right, give us an update of on how the election went yesterday in Bauchi. I know that in some polling units in Bauchi State, some people voted late into the night. So some were even using torch, to assist the INEC officials and all of that. If the units that you monitored, tell us how it all went.
I was stationed within Bauchi Metropolis yesterday where I visited some polling units, and one major polling unit I visited was the one in Paria Foundation Primary School, located along Paran within the metropolis. This polling unit or polling station has about 2,047 eligible voters. But the INEC officials arrived at around 10 in the morning, which was almost the same thing across most of the polling units. Voting actually started around 11:30 in the morning. One problem that actually happened with this polling unit was there was voting points A, B, and C, but only officials for voting point B were on ground. People started voting, but everybody that goes for the user application will be told that his name is not on that particular list and he has to wait. So people protested and later the officials went back to INEC office to get the order B up machines. And actually, election started around 2 a.m. But people were also apprehensive. The problem was that many people could not vote up to 6 p.m. in the evening. And a lot of people have to leave the polling unit without voting. 100 said before the rego and stayed until the up to 1 a.m. in the night, just to ensure they cast their vote. And one thing I learned that people were complaining was the people deployed to the polling station as officials had little knowledge about the election process because they were finding it difficult or struggling to even man the machines and follow the process that INEC stipulated. And that has made the voting process very, very smooth. And one thing that I learned from people is that there were serious allegations of replacement of ad hoc staff that were actually trained by the Independent National Election Commission with others that were not at all trained to handle these election materials.
Okay, Abubakar, from your own assessment, what can you tell us about the security, arrangements now in yesterday's election?
Okay, in that particular polling unit and other baby polling units where they had less number of voters, some had 50, some had less than 100. Actually, the matter of security was that there was one police officer, one civil defense officer, and some federal chief officials. At times when there seems to be some rowdiness, they do call it for backup when they come to settle the issue and they leave. So I would say that there was not much of security concern in most of the polling unit systems. It was only the delay and the very slow pace of accreditation approach.
But everybody in the queue yesterday, go to vote eventually.
Everybody got to vote as well, but it actually went into wee hours of the night up to 1 a.m. People were still on the queue. And there were women, there were aged people, and there were men who were even tired. Some women could not tend to their children, they could not maybe do their normal household chores up to the wee hours of the night. So that was a very difficult situation for many people. And that was what led to so many people leaving without actually voting.
What can you tell us about sorting of ballots and collection of results in Bauchi?
Okay, as early as this morning, some of the polling units have already compiled their vote and they have already sent it to the next stage of the commission. But as IDEC has said, it is not proper for anybody using the social media platform or some people are, the case has been that people are sending every result from the polling stations and telling people, which is making people feel a little bit apprehensive. But we have already tried in our local mandate studios to enlighten people on the need to allow INEC to do its job of collating the results and making the final pronouncement.
Absolutely. From your assessment, what was the turnout like yesterday?
The turnout was actually quite excellent because, as I said earlier, in one of the polling units, there were about 3,047 eligible voters. And I could see that as much as almost up to 2,000 people came out to vote because that was what led to late night voting in that particular polling unit. Around some of the baby polling units have already finished voting even at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 2 a.m. in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much, Abubakar. We'll leave it here right now. Please do call back into the program to let us know what goes on over there. Thank you. Before I come to take your reactions, I need to go to Calabar now, where I have Bernadine Anam from Calabar. Hello, Bernadine. Hello. Are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, we'll get back to Bernadine in Calabar. Yes, Dr. Abdullahi, you heard our correspondent from Bauchi. Before then, I asked you a question on the low level of women's participation in politics and violence. I did say also that out of the over 15,000 contestants that we had across the country yesterday, I'm not sure that women made up to 8% of them.
Yeah, this is due to a number of factors, which to me, these are very strategic and strong factors, which the women themselves aid and abet them. To start with, when we look at the women naturally, because of some of these factors like religion, culture and tradition, and also the psychological, emotional predispositions of the women themselves have combined to condition or make them to voluntarily condition themselves or subordinate themselves to the men. In other words, the way the game of politics is being played, women have this natural psychological tendencies not to be too volatile. And unless the system itself, the nature of the politicking here is changed, women may not be able to participate effectively and sufficiently. And also their attitude, because there's problem. One of the fundamental problems is in their attitude. We have so many rich women. We have women with ability, with the intellect, with the knowledge to participate. But you see them unfortunately subordinating themselves to the whims and caprices of these men.
You will continue, but let me come in there. Yeah. Is it that, are you sure about that? Is it that the women voluntarily, as you've said, subordinate themselves to the men, or that even what do I call it now? The rules or the laws of the political party does not really give the women much room. For instance, for most political parties in Nigeria, I think the only position.
Women leader.
Yeah, she just said it. So are you saying that is voluntary subordination, by the women to the men?
Let me tell you something that will surprise you. Women are more than 65% of the voters. They have a high number. Unfortunately, their voting capability takes expression in motivating the men to continue to suppress them. Look at the case of Kogi State. A single lady is giving headache not only to the governor, to many of the politicians. Natasha, what are we talking about? So the predisposition to context and to be in the political scene is very low in their system. What I'm saying is that these people need to, because as my colleague said, you don't wait for power. Power doesn't fall like roasted chicken. You grab it. And how do you grab it? You have to do your strategic realignment of forces and connect to like minds between and among the women. And then you take over. And when there are so many of them in the process, there will seem to be a clean and sanitized politics. But when women are quarantined in the equation, you will find that the quantum or content of violence within the system will be high. Because these players that are responsible for peacemaking within the system are no longer there.
I will come back to land on your thoughts, and I'll also take the opinion of Dr. Kusa. But then I need to go to, where is this now? I have Kalu Ijika from Akwanga in Nasarawa State. Hello, Kalu. Good morning, how are you today? So tell us, how did the election go yesterday?
Yesterday, the election was very successful.
Can you speak up a bit?
Yeah. Yesterday, I covered the Nasarawa North Territorial Zone, comprising Akwanga, Wamba, and Nasarawa Ekron local government areas of Nasarawa State. The turnout was very, very impressive yesterday in these three local government areas. Now, concentrating in Akwanga local government, where we have a polling unit, Central Primary School polling unit 001, 002, and 003. Apart from the youth and women who turned out in their numbers to cast their vote yesterday, it may really interest you to know that some of the elderly waited patiently to also cast their votes, despite the late arrival of voting materials in this very polling unit. And in other polling units, the exercise was successful except for pockets of challenges ranging from late commencement of accreditation and voting, issues of difficulty in identifying new created polling units. Some who said they've been frustrated returned home without performing their civic responsibilities. For instance, in Super Cinema polling unit 019, it took the intervention of reporters who were observing and covering the election to ensure that INEC staff helped one of the voters to cast her vote, because she became so frustrated when they told her that her name was not found in the register, and just not knowing that it was because the ad hoc staff could not really operate the figures. And with the intervention of the INEC staff, who was just passing, and he stopped over, and we had to talk to him. He now intervened, and luckily for the electorate or the voter, they were able to identify her name, and she cast her vote yesterday. This is just one out of many others who have similar challenge that could not also perform their civic responsibilities yesterday. By and large, the exercise was peaceful, successful, with a very reasonable number of security personnel comprising the police, the civil defense, who were stationed in various polling units to ensure a successful conduct of the election. Now, coming to Nasarawa Ego, that is where we had a serious or little challenge because the exercise commenced very late, around 2 p.m. yesterday, and it went into late night. In some polling units, they were unable to carry out the exercise at all. For instance, we have one polling unit, Umukora School, 023 units in Nasarawa, where some electorates are still waiting this morning for their materials in order to commence and to cast their vote this morning. Then let me quickly say that collection of results is ongoing now at the College of Education Collection Center for all the polling units in Aponga local government area.
Okay, thank you very much, Carlo. I think you've said all that that's there to be said. Thank you very much. But then we'd like you to call back into this program, and let us know more about the condition of results. Thank you, Carlo. Okay, I think yes. So let me know your reaction to this one or to
on the women
yes.
participation. I take exception to the statement that women relegate themselves. I think we should look at the historical perspective of men and women living together pari passu in a patriarchal society. And the socialization process puts women down, that they are inferior, they are to be seen and not heard. Therefore, it is imbibed in the system that they should walk on eggshells. That leads to so many things. This is not a forum for that. We will have another forum on women in politics and their disenfranchisement. But I would like to mention a few things. The first is patriarchal society, where the woman is seen as inferior. And in the villages, she's to be seen and not heard. Houses will just make babies and get out of sight or make food. In fact, the more educated women are not immune to this. Because if you want to keep your home, you need to do a number of things. And it what it took me to be a mother and a wife. It's not easy. So, in a patriarchal society, since men have been there for a long time, as I said earlier, please, I need to touch this out. It will take me 1 minute. Since men have been there for a very long time, you need to leverage on equity in order to achieve equality. Please, I repeat, you need to leverage on equity in order to achieve equality. How do you do that? Things like affirmative action, 35%. We people are saying now it should be 50%. If people have been there for a long time and want to bring them up, you need to do something. Therefore, affirmative action in many areas, in health, in education, in movement, even in the buses and all that. So, if that is done, affirmative action says, I want equality. Treat me equally, but not the same. Because the concerns of a woman in this milieu in Nigeria is similar to the concerns of a woman in Kenya. More than the concerns of a woman, of a man just beside her in Nigeria. I will repeat, the concerns of a woman like me are very similar to the concerns of a woman in Kenya. More than the concerns of a man who is so near me now. Similarly, the concerns of the man are pari passu with a man in Kenya more than a woman in Kenya. And therefore, we are saying treat us equally but not the same. Because The things a woman needs. A man doesn't have menstrual period. A man doesn't get pregnant and give birth to babies. The inflection and the I'm a woman, so I'm in those shoes and I feel it. That's why it's unfair to say that women want to put themselves down. We are not taking cognizance of the historical thing. All these things lead to feminization of property. And if you find out men have the money, men's clubs, women need to get there through equity. I will not waste our time on it, but I needed to drop this.
We'll come back to that monetization of our politics against women's participation in government. Then I need to go to Lagos now, where Nero Odufayo is standing by. Hello, Nero.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm very, very much fine. Lagos is fine.
Okay, so bring us up to speed with the situation in Lagos.
To what I've known that the Lagos residents are 50 million people, so there were some good facilities that we work around the clock to ensure that the unpalatable post-election situation is not Muslims on that early morning prayers peacefully as usual. This morning while we protest the activity of having the usual Sunday service without any form of molestation or intimidation by anybody. And also, Lagos residents are Sunday morning gathering in front of their various houses discussing the election matters without anyone interrupting them. The fact to tell you that Lagos has been very, very calm. I remember I told you yesterday that the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Mr. Idowu said that some arrested me yesterday and he said to disclose the number of suspected police officers arrested. I tell you, Lagos is calm as we speak. These are activities that started. Social life of Lagos has become to the normal. Don't forget that already the police have deployed about 27,000 personnel. While other African security agencies also deployed their personnel to ensure that the state will remain as peaceful and calm as it is as well. If that they're responsible for that in the first way. I'll tell you also that the roads have been very quick for people who have been presence of security personnel is still very, very much noticed in some areas. Some individuals who could not perform their civic responsibilities yesterday for various reasons are hoping to know from the authorities concerned, precisely the INEC. And they are very, very much optimistic if they will still be given that the opportunity to cast their votes.
Okay, it's good to know that Lagos is actually peaceful and calm. But then I want you to tell us about reports of violence that we heard around Mafoluku, Oshodi, and Akiyele in Abuja. Can you tell us anything about that?
Well, yesterday, I told you that the Commissioner of Police went to and in his return, he just, he arrived with about 25 electoral officers who were rescued from, police reforms who came to disrupt the process of election at that Mafoluku area. We were told that one of the victims, that one of the electoral officers, that the hoodlums came on a motorcycle with some, locally provided guns, shooting, during which some of them were injured, while they also destroyed the river by what the rivers were using in the conduct of the election. There are also purposes of the violence recorded in the other areas for. And this less than whether the Commissioner of Police and his team were able to, rescue those 25 electoral officers. Those elections could not go at that police area. And also, we first found of their materials being bought by the Union because they paid to some of the parties of the bombs material that
Okay, before I let you go, tell us about coalition of results. Has it started yet?
Yeah, I but the result collected yesterday from the Sheki area just to move from that place to Koshepe council area where it will finally be sent to the appropriate quarter.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, for the update. We hope to hear from you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you posted as we get some progress.
Okay. We move on to Umar here in Abia State now, where we have Lawrence Makindi. Hello, Lawrence. Good morning. Good morning to you. Lawrence, can you hear me? Yeah, good morning. Yeah, yes, good morning. Please go on. Give us an update on the situation in Umar here.
Thank you very much. For now, there is a continued voting. Voting continues today in some areas where voting will not be completed today or due because of the arrival of INEC materials. Places like Arrow local government, places like Ohio local government, INEC officials and the materials arrived daily. Then some places like some areas in Abamu. Then there's another area at what do you call it, at Usioma local government. There are some areas voting started going in around 4 o'clock. So today voting is going on now in this area.
What about the turnout?
Turnout is very impressive, very impressive because people came out in their number to ensure that they prepare their content. So most of them, especially the youth and the elderly, they came out in their number. Even today, as I speak to you now, I'm in one of the areas, so they are keeping out, breaking out for me. And in other areas, the solution is ongoing.
Okay. What about security arrangements? Where you are right now?
I can see some animals and some police and other vehicles and others. They position themselves in the strategic area to ensure that peace is maintained. For yesterday, there was peaceful election in Abu.
Okay, Minister Vat, thank you, KD. Keep us posted as events unfold in Omar here. Thank you. Have a nice day now. All right, we're moving on to Calabar now, where we have Bernadine Anna. Bernadine, are you there now? Good morning to you. So what can you tell us about, let's give us a general review of how the elections went yesterday at the polling against the monitored.
Given the Calabar municipality and the Calabar South local government area, unfortunately, it was peaceful, although we had a report of Iran working being looking down issues of not having visas and networks was not because the general was peaceful and the people actually came out and not to decide the fight.
From your own assessment, because from some parts of the country, we've heard that the youth dominated, voters, in most parts of the country. What can you say about the people that came out yesterday to vote in Calabar? Did you have the young people, the elderly, women, and what have you?
Oh yes, we had so much. We had the youth. They were saturated everywhere because those people came out, the elderly came out, men, women, and the youth. Yes, it really came out. It came out for this, really.
How would you assess the conduct of INEC officials and the machines, to particularly the beavers? Was there any report on malfunctioning, and all of that?
Yes, so far the complaint about the beavers is that it wasn't really working. In some people, we will do beavers test level. is not working. Some said they didn't have data, and some said there's no network. So all this just helps to break down some, things that were supposed to be done on time. But because these data are not working at the time that the people were ready to do, so that's what caused a lot of hold up. So the data were not working.
Okay, Nigerians would like to know if, Nigerians would like to know if collation of results has started yet.
Yes, collation of results right now are ongoing in some of the local government areas. Also, the voting also continues. In some local governments, they have been extended due to violence or lateness of the materials actually coming in. So because of this extension, some of the election continues to be in some of the local government areas of the state. So that where elections have been held, this resolution is ongoing right now.
All right, and I have to let you go now. Thank you very much for talking to us. And keep us posted, please. All right, I have Wale Williams from Benin in Edo State. I think Wale Williams is attached to the Commissioner of Police. Hello, Wale.
Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
So, what an update?
As you know, previous election in Edo State may have had their challenges, especially marked by violence. But what we saw yesterday, the security personnel who were charged with the responsibility of providing national security really improved as officers of Nigeria Police and their other security agencies are there to the code of conduct and rules of engagement to ensure a peaceful election. Although there were 4 incidents of destruction of already completed the ballot paper, snatching of ballot boxes, and gunshot, especially at Edo South. I followed the Commissioner of Police on election duty, CP Benjamin Okolo. We traveled from Benin City down to Edo North. In Edo North, the election was peaceful. There was nothing happening there. On our way coming back from Edo North, we heard that there were ballot boxes smashing in Oredo, in MFI Primary School, and of course in Niyoa Primary School right there in Obia West local government. So the Commissioner of Police yesterday said he is going to address journalists today concerning those pockets of violence in those areas I mentioned. But of course, when you look at atmosphere generally in Edo State when it comes to yesterday's election, the atmosphere was peaceful apart from the pockets of violence that we had in the Benin City metropolis.
Okay, can you give us a picture of security during the elections yesterday?
Like I said, I followed the CP yesterday, and then before we traveled to Edo Central, Edo North, we were in Edo South, talking about Benin City metropolis. In the morning, the atmosphere was peace, calm. The electorate presented themselves very well, but the only issue we had in the morning is that the arrival of election materials and of course INEC officials. So when we left Benin City, I talking about Edo South to Edo Central, I observed that most of the people that are supposed to be at the polling unit in area like Agbede, and of course one particular town before Ekuma, they decided to share their farm products and produce. They said that they don't really have money due to the economic situation in Nigeria. But when it comes to security yesterday, it was very well mapped out by the Nigerian police and other security agencies. Apart from the few pockets of violence that we had, talking about ballot snatching and of course the gunshots in those areas that I mentioned earlier.
Has commission started yet?
Right now, I don't know because I'm speaking to you right now. I'm at the command because the CP promised that those areas that we had that there were pockets of violence, the said he will address us. We asked him yesterday, has there been any arrest, of some of the people that perpetrated that thing yesterday? I said you address us, but we have a concern that INEC office, probably I may contact him to know if they started collation.
Okay, so we would like you to call back and let us know the response of the Nigerian police to the pockets of violence reported in that part of the country yesterday.
Yes.
Thank you, 1 minute, and be safe.
You are correct. Thank you, sir.
We move on now from Benin to Port Harcourt, where I have Victory Aisoni. Good morning, Victory.
Good morning.
Yes, Victory, go ahead and tell us what happened yesterday.
Okay, I am stationed at INEC headquarters in Port Harcourt, Yoruba State, Port Harcourt, on the Abani. And then yesterday, a lot happened. So when we came in the morning, the operation officers went to the local government area very late. At 4-5 p.m., we still have some operation officers around who are not going to the local government area. Then we also had to go out to the resident electoral commissioner, Johnson Alalido. And then as our 6 years ago, we still had crowds at the polling unit where to monitor. At the polling unit where we still had a lot of crowds, so we had to ask them to continue the voting until everybody who is on the queue has voted. Then after that, I think we also got to Obiato. Obiato is one of the major local government areas in the State. We went to Obiato, and then the area office where the jobs are supposed to come into before they are brought into an headquarters. But at that time, at that no results had gotten to that place, and they didn't have any clue what they were going to do. When we went down to Founder is also a very large local government area. And where we had solution officers. We have some of them have come down, we had them counting and all that. That was what happened yesterday. But the thing is, this morning now, and as the INEC headquarters, nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. There's no results are coming this morning, and it's there before 8 o'clock. Nothing has happened, nothing is happening. Everybody is know what is happening. We ask the journalists and start asking because we covered 2 elections. And we know that the solution between the very good the election and there. By this morning, we expect that we should have gone fast. But it's still happening, not doing anything, and nobody saying anything.
When you say nothing is happening, how exactly do you mean? Do we have INEC officials where you are?
Yes, at the end, we have INEC transport to the offices, but the solution cannot be done. Nobody has gotten, we've not known what is moving any results or anything.
Okay, I'd like you to talk to us about the functioning of the beavers, because there was a report yesterday that at the polling units of the governor, the beavers he wasn't able to they couldn't accredit him, but of course he came back and the beavers accredited and all of that and got to vote. But eventually his wife did not get to vote.
Yes, we also got that report that it was hard for him to vote directly because that he rejected his something and social stuff. And then he did not react. We have to ask him to go and come back because he was able to get married. So that was just started going to the lecture. Later to the vote. But we had, I think, a lot of issues of that. And then, as I was like, in 9 o'clock, I saw that they had to come through some of the machines. You have to bring them and then put back to.
How would you describe the mood of the voters in terms of the turnout and of course their behavior? How do they comport themselves?
Okay, I think people were really enthusiastic. They really wanted to exercise their franchise, so they were ready to vote. And then, when we went out to the resident electoral commission, there was the crowd there. When we asked them to continue, because the right asked voting time, and when we asked them to continue, the people in the queue, you could see the jubilation, they were very happy. They they were just shouting, thank you, sir, everybody knows that, I must vote, thank you, sir, you must vote. And that was so, people are really ready to invest in this election. That is what it is, and I vote.
Okay, since you're at INEC Coalition Center, I just be there and then let us know as soon as the coalition starts. Thank you, Victory. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
All right, so many reports from different parts of the country. You were speaking, Dr. Kusa, before I started taking those calls on women's participation and the fact that women did not, I will never voluntarily, subordinate themselves to, in terms of politics here now.
What is influencing that is the socialization process. I think we should leave that and face the elections for now. What I see from all the reports, Mahia, Calabar, Edo, is that there's been peace, relative, not 100%, but relative, which is good compared with what we used to have. There has been relative peace in Mahia, Calabar, even in the FCT. And then I got a report this morning that in Kubwa, a friend of mine called me that they are committing. They were committing at about past 6 a.m. She said she was going home to brush her teeth and take a bath. So they have been there since yesterday morning. She didn't leave. She went home, ate, came back. So many of them have done that. And they were going to see most polling units, they are trying to see the coalition through this month. That kind of commitment I have not witnessed in my entire life, in this adult life in this country. It is a tempo that I believe should continue. It's a trend that came as a big force, which needs to be galvanized and encouraged. And here, another citizen went home when they said the Beavers was out of battery and there was no electricity to, he went home to carry his own personal generator to the polling units. To the social media, he went home and carried it, they used it. Maybe they're still using it. So the Beavers to charge it and do the collation because he says he cannot go home without hearing the result of that polling booth. So he went to his house. So that level of commitment is something we need to encourage, needs to continue, and citizen engagement will ensure that the benefits of democracy reach the people. People should not stay at home when others are voting and say, I just took these voters out for identification. Your life depends on it. So that the next 4 years, even if those who trusted this time around don't do well, they get out. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Abdullah.
Yeah. Based on the report, we have heard from several segments of the country by reporters. Of course, in a sum, I would like to say that almost every state has experienced certain challenges which are to some extent looking alike or similar to each other, ranging from the lateness or late commencement of voting and accreditation, ranging from also the certain technical hitches associated with the function of the BVAS machine, and also the issue of thuggery and the violence which characterize also the process in some areas, coupled with the issue of INEC delineation and changing or introduction of new locations, which really confused some voters not to have area or prior to the election located places where they are supposed to vote until the election. So there are some apprehensions associated with the citizens. But in a more larger sense, based on the report we are having and so far what we are seeing, and from my assessment, I think the process has been to a large extent successful and commendable. And fundamentally, or lastly, the whole process, the whole planning process from the federal government side or from the presidency side, National Assembly to INEC, and all all the stakeholders involved. What I would like to say is that there is visible and palpable commitments on the side of, trying to push for a free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria, because most of the, strategic plans put in place for preparations. Really today, what we are seeing is the chain reaction of the impact of those arrangements, which have so far visibly trying to retire the old brigade politicking, which has developed Nigeria in the past. But now every politician and every voter, every individual and citizens are coming to face reality towards the search for a new Nigeria.
Our time is fast spent, but before I go to Kwara State, where we have I think at this juncture we need to begin to set agenda for the incoming president. I'll come back to. Let me quickly go to Kwara. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Are you there? Hello, Radu.
Hello, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. Thank God. So where are you precisely in Kwara State? And what's the update from there?
Precisely, I'm at the coalition center in the Kwara State, where the election results are supposed to start to be collected from the senatorial, all the three senatorial districts. But it is yet to start. It is slated for 6 o'clock early this morning. As of now, they are just trying to put some short touches on the arrangements, but they have not started yet. Kwara is generally peaceful. The election, the state has been concluded very peaceful yesterday, though it started late. Many of the areas will not start at the 8:30 that was slated for. Some areas started casting their vote at 9:15. There are some like the Alanamu area was 7. The election material came there around 12 in the afternoon. But then there are areas where they have challenges of the builders malfunction, but the INEC officials came up and ensured everything is put in order. The election was peaceful everywhere in Kwara State. Then issue of security.
Yeah.
Everywhere the security were around on ground. Even in the hinterland where they feel there could be challenges, they ensure the station officer to ensure that no one tries to do anything untoward. So far, election generally was peaceful and everything went in order. At the collection center now, the INEC officials are trying to put all pencil touches to ensure the collection starts smoothly, but it has not started yet. We're still there.
Okay. Be there and keep us posted when the collection starts. Thank you very much, Rodney, for the update from Kwara State.
Thank you.
All right. The elections, of course, came yesterday. Some still, taking place right now. But I know that every 4 years, politicians go out there, make promises, come up with manifestos, of days of cards. Now, for the incoming administration, what areas do you think should be the immediate priorities, of the next administration?
Yeah, that is important for us to be equally like a case in trying to shape or form, a kind of strength of agenda for the incoming president, considering the fact that people really have demonstrated commitment and resilience in trying to see that our situation is changed for the better. In spite of the hitches and of course the problem associated with the way and manner in which we appeal to sentiment to come into power, I do believe that the next step of our struggle is to be able to discard politicians moving to churches, politicians moving into mosques, imams forming opinions in their sermonizations, and pastors telling me or trying to impose their wills upon people. This country will not survive in that type of context. And then the sacrifices certain citizens are making, just like my colleague pointed out, when we saw the clip of a woman whose eye, part of her eye was damaged, but she summoned the courage to return after being dressed in the hospital, to still vote for that guy who will come to neglect her, to still vote for that party who does not have any plan that will take care of that woman or her children. Talk about those young people who have sacrificed even their lives, or those who have been perhaps killed by trucks and what have you. And then we don't have a plan. So part of what I propose for the politicians, we call it the proceed table. Proceed table is what we call, we need a strategic, or what we call the political, social, economic, environmental, technological, and gender order. In other words, politicians should be thinking that whosoever is coming in, once you get into the corridors of power, you jettison who you are, because your identity is going to change. You are no longer a Hausaman, or Yoruba, or Igbo, or Fulani, or whosoever. You are now the president of Nigeria. Any attempt to quarantine people of whatever extraction, you are not looking for. You are not looking for peace. You are looking for trouble. So the crisis, just like what I can quote from Reverend Martin Kuka, he said part of the problem we have with the leadership of Nigeria is that a lot of our candidates get into the corridors of power unprepared for any responsibility. People contest for the sake of the contest, for the sake of making names. But beyond that, nothing is in their heads to be able to devise strategic plans of action to deliver services to the citizens. Today in this country, if you check our history, no regime, and I want to make it clear, no regime in this country has been able to sufficiently meet the target of providing basic needs to the citizens of this country. What I mean by basic needs: food, shelter, security, education, and health care. These are the five or the first phase of basic needs. We have seen several countries around the world where not only these I mentioned the five streams of food, health care, education, shelter, and security are provided. Beyond that, transportation, communication, happiness are all basic needs. The ultimate essence of governance is the pursuit of the overall happiness of the majority of the citizens of a particular country. So the question for them is, how do I pursue the goods of all, or the goods of majority of Nigerians? And clearly, strategic requirement is in line with the provisions of our constitution that the ultimate essence of why you as a president is elected is to pursue welfare of the citizens, security of lives and property, and the overall development of this great entity called Nigeria. This is one the basic.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kusa,
agenda? Yes, beautiful. Number one, the fault lines are so exaggerated now. We need a unifier of a president. The president should come here not as a Nigerian, not as an ethnic bigot. Number two, the intangible benefits that are called dividends of democracy, human security, health, education, transportation, all these should be looked into for good governance. Number three, many Nigerians are falling below the poverty line. Something must be done to ensure that more do not fall below the poverty line, and those who are falling need to be brought back up. It's a big task, but we must start from somewhere, and I'll give a few things. The first, youth employment. Government cannot employ all, but get a good environment, enabling environment for them to employ themselves. Number two, women who are victims of feminization of poverty need skills to ensure that their children eat. Number four, it needs to build on what has been done so far to improve the electoral process. We need it. And he came in on the heels of such improvement. He needs to keep improving that. Number five, inclusivity. PWDs, persons with disabilities, they constitute almost about 20 million or more in this country. They're very important. They need to be included. Women, the minors, the people who are being relegated, inclusivity. Number 6, he made a number of promises on the campaign trail. We are going to hold him accountable, because there's no woman now. So we are going to hold him, I would have said him or her, but it's obvious, say him. So we are going to hold him accountable for all the promises he made. Those are not political promises to us. We are going to be tracking his record. Finally, we don't want a president who does not talk to us. He needs to brief us periodically. There should be communication and strategic communication. Thank you.
I love that aspect of accountability. Now, how do we begin to demand political accountability from our representatives?
We can do it. Civil society has a responsibility to ensure that leaders are accountable. And we can do this by tracking whatever they are doing. We use parameters. You said this. Within the first 100 days, what have you done? We'll be tracking them. CDD, Center for Democracy and Development, did one meter. They can also do whoever wins meter.
Thank you.
And track the progress of the work. It's a serious matter. We are tired of suffering. So we'll hold you accountable.
Okay. What I have given was just a summary of what the agenda should look like, the rest of the agenda, and the content should be developed from what I have said. If any government will come to this country and attempt to provide these 5 pendants or 5 strings of basic needs: food, health care, education, security. Everything we are saying revolves around these basic needs. That we look up to another horizon or another leadership come. Where are we? We have not been able to feed ourselves. We have not been able to educate the majority of the people of this country. We only come to an election to say, hey, you need this, you need that, we need to tell you how to vote, how to do all this. The majority of the people don't even know how to vote independent of any guidelines from certain voters. Now, all is not issues of education. The youth of this country must stand against whosoever emerges, without sentiment, without fear or favor. Are students of this country entitled to student loan? Many families' economies have collapsed. Do they have access to student loan? Are ASU totally free from the shackles of strikes? What about that bondage industry that has caged several millions of Nigerian young people in the Almajiri industry in northern Nigeria? Who wants to solve the problem of security? Do you think you can do anything? You can buy several numbers of guns and weapons and guns from several countries or from defense industries around the world, wasting Nigeria's money, instead of investing diligently in improving and delinking the chains that have, caged several young or promising Nigerian leaders who are today victims of this Almajiri, whatever. How do we unchain these people? How do we give them the requisite education that will make them to be human beings? How do we change the system in order for it to be skill acquisition oriented and capacity building engagement? And we are pretending that yes, we are doing this, we are forming raw materials of strategic violence that will terminate Nigeria. So we have to tell whosoever is the president, we will continue to say it as long as we breathe and as long as we live. We will subject it, just as my colleague has said, that transparency and accountability, and in addition, the issue of justice and fairness in the distribution of the wealth of this country. I had a privilege of challenging a head of state in this country who was talking certain whatever I consider bukum, so to say in quotes, about her trying to produce several billionaires for Nigeria. That's not what the young people of this country. We are not talking about the number of billionaires who are producing this economy. We are talking about the number of people who have lifted out of poverty like that should be the conversation.
Dr. Abdullah, I'll give each of you a few seconds each. I want us what are the lessons from this election, and what are you expecting, from the election, particularly as it relates to our democracy? A few seconds, not even up to 1 minute, because we need to go now.
Okay, democracy is government that makes life, is government of the people, by the people, for the people. It should remain so. And the basic thing for government is to protect life and property. Insurgency, sleeping with one eye open and all that. We need to stop just the kinetic approach. We need the non-kinetic approach appealing to the minds of the perpetrators. Thank you.
I think it is what I want to see is consolidation of the democratic process, because democracy is better than the best other types of government, whether monarchy, military, dictatorship, and what have you. The best of them so far is democracy because of the expression and the window of freedom and liberty. But I would want to also use the words of Abraham Lincoln to come to conclusion because of time. Otherwise, I would have added Gandhi to say
Gandhi.
That there was a ability to Abraham Lincoln after failing, and then he emerged victorious. And when he was asked, he governs without advisors or cabals or what have you. But when he was asked, media asked him, who are the advisors? He said, the American people. Whenever he wants to do any policy or whenever he casts out a policy, he throws it to the American people, and where the dominant sentiment goes, he then implements it, and he emerges the 16th American president and one of the best in history. And he said to Americans that the probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of the cause we believe to be just. If we believe in democracy, I call on the youth of this country. Beware of these merchants of violence and these conspirators hiding under the garment of religion and ethno-tribal sentiment to cause commotion to the democracy. But I believe if the Igbo man will resonate with this demand for new Nigeria, the Hausa man will resonate with this, the Yoruba man will resonate with this, that what we need is a president. We don't need ethnic champion or a tribal bigot in the horizon to come and be pretending under certain traditional regalia. We don't need display of agbada or whatsoever or suits. We need a president who can wear his jeans and can engage the citizens and can do more to the citizens, and let us see it on ground. And finally, Gandhi would say, if you do your assignment well, a man is but the product of his own thoughts. What he thinks, that he becomes. If we think to be a due republic, that will be it. If we believe that this entity is capable of regaining its lost glory and be repositioned at the heart of Africa, because I heard somebody saying that when Nigeria shakes, is the heart of Africa. Every system in the body of Africa will be sick. So I believe that Nigeria and Nigerians will look at it. Whosoever emerges, will give him a resounding cooperation and understanding.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullahi. Thank you very much. And I know that the takeaway from here is for the incoming administration, security, healthcare, education.
Human security covers all that.
Human security, equity, healthcare, and communication. Communication. There must be at all times. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if you're just joining us, we've been Monday Studio on Africa's largest radio network and the radio station of the year. And I've had in the studio as my guest, Dr. Abdullahi Bello is a researcher and an international affairs analyst, and of course, Dr. Oluyemi Dayo Usa, an independent conflict transformation strategist and gender specialist, and a former director, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. I must thank the two of you for your expertise, for your experience, and your invaluable insights on this program today. Thank you very much for being our guest on Monday Studio. I think I'd like to have you anytime. So thank you. Wonderful host. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm beautiful.
Thank you, Ma. All right, and of course, let's say this thank you also to everybody that made up the production crew, started from the Director General of FRCN, Dr. Mansour Liman, Director of Programs, Mr. Shumaki, Director News, Husseina Akila, Director Engineering Services, Sanda Askira, Director Sports and OB Abazayan, Director ICT Bidado Ibrahim, the production teams from Programs, News, Engineering, Sports and OB, Online and ICT Directorates, and of course, my name is Mariam Okesojola. Thank you for staying with us on Monday Studio. Join us again this evening at 4:30. Good morning.
Change begins with you. Whatever you go, but you go so that change begins from within. Look up the eye of your ruler. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigeria is filled with cultures so beautifully diverse,
People so creatively endowed,
land so richly blessed.
but all these need nothing in the face of violence.
Let's live in peace, for only in peace can development happen.
The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain.
Let us serve our fatherland with love, strength, and faith.
One people, one nation.
This is a public service announcement from Radio Nigeria.
It's midday. Welcome to the news on the network service of Radio Nigeria. I am Joy Maka. The headlines. INEC commences collation of presidential election results. INEC shifts House of Representatives election in Edo State to March 11. Clergyman urges Nigerians to exhibit maturity over Saturday's polls. Fire raises Maiduguri Central Market. This news is streaming live from RadioNigeria.gov.ng. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Nigeria HQ and on Facebook at facebook.com/Radio Nigeria Network. The news in detail. The Independent National Electoral Commission will today commence the collation of 2023 presidential and parliamentary elections. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, announced this at a news briefing on the 2023 general election in Abuja. Professor Yakubu said results were expected by the commission from the states starting from today. Former military head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, wants Nigerians to maintain peace after the ongoing general election as they voted peacefully to elect their candidates. The former military head of state made the call after casting his vote at the Hilltop polling unit in Mina. General Abdulsalami, however, commended the electorate for the relatively peaceful conduct of the exercise in the state and Nigeria as a whole. The Women's Situation Bureau Nigeria has expressed displeasure over the high level of incidents and flaws witnessed in yesterday's elections. Presenting the preliminary report of the group in Abuja, the national coordinator of the Situation Group, Professor Joe Oniso, said widespread reports of late arrival of materials to polling units showed that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, was not prepared for the exercise. Professor Oniso who however commended Nigerians for their enthusiasm during the exercise, called on INEC to tell the nation what went wrong. Similarly, the observatory set up by the Speak Out Africa initiative, termed Radar Room, has presented its preliminary report saying that there was huge early voter turnout across the country, but that there were logistic problems on the part of INEC. The Executive Director of Speak Out Africa Initiative, Mr. Kenneth Izzy, also stressed that there were reports of suppression of voters in some areas. Mr. Kenneth Izzy said a final report will be made public at the end of the exercise. The Archbishop of Abuja Diocese, Most Reverend Ignatius Kingama, wants Nigerians to exhibit political maturity by accepting whatever result the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will announce as the authentic results of yesterday's polls. In his ruling, the Most Reverend Kingama also called on the electoral officers, security agents, the judiciary, and those involved directly to ensure fairness, objectivity in the process. He advised Nigerians to shun post-election violence. Archbishop Kingama, whose sermon centered on season of Lent, prayed for the strength to undertake the lengthy spiritual journey of 40 days, which will culminate with the celebration of the Passion of the Lord and his glorious resurrection at Easter.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Let's have some peace. Nigerians are peace-loving and hard-working people.
And countries only develop and grow when there is peace and stability.
There are different kinds of problems in every society, and so in every country.
If there are problems here, Nigeria is not an exception.
There is no society, no country where violence and public disorder has solved that problem.
No matter the problem, no matter the issue.
Let us sit down like brothers and sisters. Use dialogue to resolve the problems.
Remember, you have to give account of every action you take. People hear of both, then before your creator.
Please let us work together for a peaceful Nigeria.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Let's have some peace. Nigerians are peace-loving and hard-working people.
And countries only develop and grow when there is peace and stability.
There are different kinds of problems in every society, and so in every country.
If there are problems here, Nigeria is not an exception.
There is no society, no country where violence and public disorder has solved that problem.
No matter the problem, no matter the issue.
Let us sit down, brothers and sisters. Use dialogue to resolve the problems.
Remember, you have to give account of every action you take. People hear of both, then before your creator.
Please let us work together for a peaceful Nigeria.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
I'd like to appreciate you for staying tuned. A guest on Mandate Studio, a Radio Nigeria network program for the 2023 general election, an independent conflict transformation strategist and gender specialist, Dr. Dayo Kusa, has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to further improve on its logistics management for a hitch-free polls across the country. Dr. Kusa said that the issue of delivery of materials to various polling units across the country by INEC must be taken seriously, as it has proven to be one of the biggest challenges in the electoral process.
The distribution process, the whole of the INEC delivery system, from start to finish at every stage. There should be timelines for each. That is what is missing. Start from having sections for project management. There should be, under that project management, looking at the terrain of Nigeria and looking at the difficulties in places like Bayelsa, the riverine areas, where the terrain is so difficult, you cannot move.
Another guest on the program, an international affairs analyst, Dr. Abdullahi Bello, however, commended the coalition of security agencies for the intelligence-driven and well-coordinated operational network that had contributed to a peaceful election across the nation.
The arrangement from the side of police, the DSS, the EFCC, custom, immigration, the 17 institutions really did the best. And in history, this is the first time there is a robust, well-coordinated operations and intervention, which has really sent a signal of strategic deterrence to troublemakers who have this, tendency of disrupting the election. Because violence and electoral kind of rigging and other things were really significantly reduced by the deliberate policies.
Dr. Bello noted that the operations carried out by security operatives have largely reduced the incidence of vote buying, rigging, and thuggery during the election. Election into House of Representatives seats in Eshan West, Eshan Central, and Lugweben local government areas of Edo State have been shifted to March 11. The state resident electoral commissioner, Mr. Obo Efanga, made an announcement while addressing journalists on the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly election. According to the resident electoral commissioner, the election was postponed due to errors noticed on ballot papers.
Materials arrived very late. At 8:30, I was in some of the polling units, no sight of election materials or any kind of personnel to conduct the election. The same reports will go from our correspondents and reporters across the 8 local government areas of the state. Areas such as Bra, the election started about 1 and 2 p.m. in southern Niger and parts of Ekremo. Now, this is a recurring decimal because these communities are located very far.
Late arrival of electoral officers and election materials to some polling units, Mr. Fanga stated that the situation was later brought under control.
Elections will be held in about 204 units in 4 wards of APA1, APA3, Bahrain 2, and Okodia. All these are located in Yenegua local government area because they could not vote yesterday due to some missing ballot paper. So I think INEC has given them another chance to vote following a protest yesterday by some prospective voters.
Violence in some polling units, the presidential and National Assembly election in Edo State was largely peaceful. The President and National Assembly election, that's the presidential and National Assembly elections, continue today in Bayelsa State. Our correspondent, Alambo Datori, while giving an update on conduct of the election on Radio Nigerian Mandate Studio, said late arrival of INEC materials delayed the process.
Elections will be held in about 204 units in 4 wards of APA1, APA3, Bahrain 2, and Okodia. All these are located in Yenegua local government area because they could not vote yesterday due to some missing ballot paper. So I think INEC has given them another chance to vote following a protest yesterday by some prospective voters.
Alambo Datori also explained that the election was expected to hold in 204 polling units in Yenegua local government following a protest. Raphael Ekwe, who called into the program from Rivers State, observed that in some of the polling units where elections were shifted to today, neither the INEC officers nor the electorate were seen at the designated polls. And from Kogi State, Olizabello said that there were sketches of violence in some polling units. Abubakar Ahmed, who monitored elections in Bauchi metropolis, reported that there was a mix-up of the beavers in some polling units. The Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Dr. Ahmed Audi, has commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for the peaceful conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections. Dr. Audi, while monitoring the exercise in Abuja, told journalists that the introduction of beavers made voting seamless. He described the election process as peaceful and encouraged Nigerians to be law-abiding for the progress of the country.
I think this is near happiness. We have seen that many have done their job, the leaders are working only in terms of one or two. And then you can see whether it's in quarters. We also arrange the chance very well. And everybody is watching. So this is very encouraging situation of us. This is going to be very transparent process.
The Commandant General also applauded officers and men of the NFCDC for ensuring that the electorate were civil during the exercise. He called on them to always exhibit high level of professionalism in the discharge of their duties. In Enugu State, our correspondent reports that INEC officials were not present at some critical locations. And to speak on the situation, we have on the line Ifeoma Amuta. Hello, Ifeoma.
Good afternoon.
We're glad to have you on the news.
Thank you.
So what's the situation at the INEC headquarters in Enugu?
Here, the security has been dipped off everywhere around, and we are presently waiting to be addressed by the INEC rep, who promised to bring journalists, because up to 9:30 yesterday, he said that journalists from his dear houses to wait, so that he can bring them on the outcome of the connection officers who left late yesterday, because at 5 p.m. some connection and recording officers we are still to go to their various areas of our presence, local beds. We left because he had to rush out of the headquarters. Today we are here, and there was a rumor of extension of voting. When we inquired, I had to with the head of the French, local education and publicity, Mr. Tattoo. He said, INEC has not suspended this voting. Concluded yesterday, and they are waiting for the election officers to return. So the media is here, they are waiting, especially for them. Some of the election officers and state officers who came here this morning saying that their names did not appear. That's why they started that some people sustain them, and they are announced.
Okay, so did you get reactions of voters regarding the entire process?
Yes, they talked with me, though I didn't get the recorded voice, but they said they were not happy. So they know how the INEC will resolve the issue.
Okay, so what's the security situation there?
In fact, I want to applaud the efforts of the security agents, even the army, the armed vehicles, contact here, and in fact, the security has been active. I'm not to compare with something today. They said that nobody will know what that, and the army is getting everybody that is getting them trust into this INEC headquarters. If you don't have an identification, you will not enter.
All right, we appreciate you, Ifeoma, for keeping us updated about situations over there in Enugu.
Thank you.
Just keep us posted. Well, I have been speaking with Ifeoma Amuta, Enugu correspondent, on the situation over there.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Here to call it change, then Nigeria. Change is here, it's gonna stay. Change begins with you. Whatever you go, but you show so that change begins on with. Look at the eye of your ruler. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
The Maiduguri Central Market, popularly known as Monday Market, has been gutted by fire. The early Sunday fire outbreak is still raging, with men of fire service battling to contain it. The State Director of Fire Service, Umaru Kirawa, who confirmed the incidents to journalists, said that the state, federal, and other fire units from various institutions have joined to contain the inferno. Well, to speak more on the fire outbreak at the Maiduguri Monday Market, we have on the line correspondent Abdullahi Gambo in Maiduguri. Good to have you on the news, Abdullahi.
Yes, good afternoon.
All right, so has the cause of the fire been ascertained?
As of now, the fire incident commences early hours of Sunday in the Maiduguri Monday Market. That is the main central market of the Maiduguri. It is the largest market in the whole of the state. In fact, you can even say that it is the largest market in the northeastern state because it's a market where buyers from neighboring countries and from buyers as far as Central Africa, they do come to buy their goods from the Maiduguri Monday Market.
So what was the cause of the fire?
As of now, there is no certain cause of the fire outbreak that has been confirmed by any of the authorities. But as of now, the leadership of the market have set up a committee to investigate the causes of the fire outbreak. But there is no specific cause of the fire impact at the market.
All right, so can you assess the extent of damage done so far?
The damage is very, very colossal because property worth billions have been destroyed by the inferno. As I speak to you now, the governor just left the scene by assessing the level of damages. He quickly announced donation of 1 billion naira as a support for the businessmen and dealers there in the market. He also promised them to take a necessary action by cushioning the effect of the losses for the businessmen by even meeting President Muhammad Buhari and other stakeholders to see that the losses that happened due to the fire outbreak is somehow reduced.
Okay, looking at the market being the biggest in the Northeast, as you mentioned earlier too, what is the impact of this incident on the people of Maiduguri and the neighboring states?
The impact will be somehow very, very negative because it is a market where thousands of jobs have been generated in the market because people, middlemen, traders, and some even a lot of people have been, market is serving a lot of people, and it happens that it is their source of livelihood. So a lot of people have been affected by it, directly and indirectly.
Okay.
And as I'm speaking to you now, the economic effect of the country and coupled with the insurgency here in Maiduguri, in fact, people have been affected by the impact.
All right, Abdullahi Gambo, we'll have to let you go here. Thank you so much. Just keep us updated, all right?
Thank you.
Okay, that was correspondent Abdullahi Gambo on the inferno at the Maiduguri Central Market. Now, reports reaching us say protests have inundated the INEC headquarters here in Abuja. Okay, I will be expecting Muja Kucha to actually keep us updated on that. But as we wait to link up with Muja Kucha, the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, has announced an emergency relief of 1 billion naira to support victims of Monday Market fire disaster pending assessment of the incident. Now, in a statewide broadcast after visiting the scene of the disaster, the governor also announced that the military is mobilized to secure the area to prevent breakdown of law and order. The governor, who expressed sadness over the incident, noted the agonizing pain of losing a business which has been built over years in a matter of seconds. According to Governor Zulu, an assessment committee will be set up comprising respectable individuals from the society, including representatives of victims. Governor Zulu said he will also seek an audience with President Buhari and request for presidential intervention for victims. Right now, we're telling you about a protest that has engulfed the INEC headquarters here in Abuja, and I believe Muja Kucha is standing by. Hello, Muja.
Hello, good afternoon.
Well, we're glad to have you on the news. Can you give us a situation about what's happening there?
Okay, protesters have taken their protest to the INEC headquarters now at Maitama in Abuja, and they are protesting over what happened yesterday at their home clinic, that is Lugo Polling Village 009, Middle Primary School. Now, over 8,000 registered voters have been captured in that area, so there was a problem yesterday which prevented them from voting. Now, this morning they found out in their numbers to swing electoral officers to be on ground, but at 11 o'clock this morning, there was no security on ground, there was no electoral officer on ground. Now, the protesters couldn't take it, and they've been waiting, they've been chanting that they must vote, they must vote. So they have gathered themselves, and they are now at the INEC headquarters, and land that are still on their way coming. So, some security agents have addressed them here. We don't know what the outcome will be, whether the elections will still hold, because the day is already gone.
All right, Muja, we would expect you to keep us posted about the scenario there, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaking to Muja Kucha there on the protest that has engulfed INEC headquarters here in Abuja. Now, next is State House Diary with Fatima Mbogo.
Welcome to another edition of State House Diary as we review last week's activities at the Presidential Villa. I am Fatima Mbogo. On Monday last week, Nigeria was chosen by the heads of state and government of the Sahel Region Climate Commission to host the Secretariat of the Sahel Climate Fund. A communique issued at the end of the second conference of heads of state and government of SRCC held on the margins of 36 AU Summit also approved the appointment of Mr. Isifi Borem of Niger Republic as the Executive Secretary of the Commission. A panel of the head of state comprising President Buhari, King Mohammed of Morocco, President Alassane Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire, and General Mohamed Idriss Deby of Chad was established to support the work of the President of the Commission. The committee also named personalities as ambassadors for advocacy and the mobilization of resources for the financing of climate-related programs and actions in the region. On Wednesday last week, President Buhari urged candidates contesting elections at all levels to respect the choice of voters and accept the results of the election as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. President Buhari, who witnessed the signing of the second peace accord for the 2023 presidential elections at the International Conference Center, Abuja, remained the political class and their supporters that INEC was the agency empowered by law to announce the results. He assured Nigerians that his administration would continue to do its utmost to deliver a free and fair election. On Saturday last week, President Buhari expressed delight that his administration had succeeded in checkmating electoral malpractice, casting his vote at Serkinyara ward in Daura Katsina State. The president reassured Nigerians that their vote would count. On the same day, the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, charged women and youth to be law-abiding during the election period and accept the results when announced. She stated this after casting her vote in Daura Katsina State. And that's it on this week's edition of State House Diary. Please stay tuned for another edition. Same time next week. I am Fatima Mbogo.
Sports update is next.
The second edition of the cricket competition for women will be hosted in Lagos, and Rwanda will be defending their NCF T20 Women's Trophy against formidable foes. President of the Nigerian Cricket Federation, Uyi Akpata, says the stage is set for the competition to be hosted in Lagos from March 19 to 26 this year, stressing that all the teams that participated in 2022 will take part, with the exception of Cameroon, who are the only debutants. Nigeria's under-18 male handball team are presently in an intensive camp in Lagos in preparation ahead of the International Handball Federation Intercontinental Championship, which will hold in Costa Rica. The IHF Trophy Intercontinental 2023 will hold in San Jose, Costa Rica from March 6 to 11, and it will be the 5th edition of the championship organized by the International Handball Federation. Nigeria, who are champions in the under-18 male category, are participating in the championship for the second time in history after they finished second in 2019, which was held in Pristina, Kosovo, with Nigeria losing narrowly to Chinese Taipei 27-26 in the final. The Cortina Mali Tutok side will play in a round-robin competition against the likes of Georgia, Guadalupe, Nicaragua, and Tahiti, with the first match to be played on March 8 against Nicaragua. Arsenal maintained top place in the English Premier League by beating Leicester City 1-0 at the King's Power Stadium thanks to Gabriel Martinelli's early goal in the second half on Saturday. Leandro Trossard, who had a first-half goal disallowed, slipped a pass through to Martinelli, and the Brazil winger cut in from the left to poke a low finish just inside the far post on 46 minutes. That ensured Arsenal would end the day where they began in first place, with second place Manchester City winning convincingly 4-1 at Bournemouth late last night. In other results, Everton lost 0-2 at home to Aston Villa. Leeds edged Southampton 1-0, while West Ham trashed Nottingham Forest 4-0. Today, Tottenham tackled Chelsea in a London derby. Meantime, it will be all eyes on Wembley in London this afternoon, with Manchester United and Newcastle set to face off in the Carabao or English Football League Cup final. That does it for sports with Alan Natori.
Thank you, Alambo. For weather update, Abuja, the nation's capital, is sunny with temperature at 31 degrees Celsius. Katsina, Sokoto, Lagos, Kaduna, and Ibadan are sunny with temperatures ranging from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. Jalingo and Lafia are cloudy with temperatures ranging from 34 to 36 degrees Celsius. To end the news, here's a recap of the major stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has commenced collation of presidential election results. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, announced this at a news briefing on the 2023 general election in Abuja. Professor Yakubu said results were expected by the commission from the states starting from today. INEC has shifted House of Representatives election in Edo State to March 11. The Archbishop of Abuja Diocese, Most Reverend Ignatius Gaigama, wants Nigerians to exhibit political maturity by accepting whatever result the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will announce as the authentic results of yesterday's votes. We also told you that the Maiduguri Central Market, popularly known as Monday Market, has been gutted by fire. The early Sunday fire outbreak is still raging, with men of fire service battling to contain it. And that's the news edited by online and the production team. I enjoy Marka.
I see it coming. Breaking 4 second New York.